You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Back to the Top 6 Show on Monday night. Hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing and you've hit the bell notification button as well, so you miss no more of our streams or our live or our podcast on Spotify. Don will be joining us soon. We're not too sure where he is. He's running a little bit late, but we're joined this evening by Nobbins, back in his team, Manchester City. JJ is back with us, repping Liverpool. Long time no see for Jords here to talk Tottenham, and he is insulted by Bayern Munich's pursuit of Kane. We're going to get onto that a little bit later. Jessica Black is here, repping Arsenal. Myself talking Man United and hosting the show. Viewers, I want to know where you're watching from around the world. Let us know right now in the live comment section, or if you're watching the playback, in the comment section below. Lots of stories tonight. Another story regarding Tchouameni and Arsenal. We're talking about Onana and his deal that will complete soon to Man United. Could Amrabat be next? We're looking at Harry Kane. 68 million is all that's been offered for him so far, which is mad. We're talking Caicedo. We're looking at Gvardiol to Man City and Chelsea's pursuit of a new striker. So lots to come up on the show. But how is everyone, first of all? Everyone well? Everybody good?
Doing good, yeah.
Good, man.
Yeah, man, very well. Very well.
Good. Lots to go into. So we will not be talking about what's his name? Is it Hugh from the BBC and his bum crack being on the on my Twitter? I couldn't believe what I saw. This guy's always there when you're watching anything about the royal family, and today saw his bum crack on TV. Couldn't believe it. What's his surname? Is it Hugh Andrews? Hugh.
Who's that?
What's this?
Do you not see this?
I haven't seen
No.
this.
Have you not
Literally
seen
nobody knows what you're talking about. What is it?
No, another guy. His name now eludes me. It's Hugh something.
Hugh Edwards.
Hugh Edwards, yeah, the Welsh political commentator.
Yeah.
There's talk that maybe the BBC personality might be him, because there was a picture that was viral today of him showing his bum on TV. on like a anyway, I'll move on. No one knows what I'm talking about. I woke up and just saw it on my TL. It freaked me out. Anyway. Anyway. I want to start off by talking about Harry Kane, because I have to say, the reports from Germany are he wants to move. The reports from Germany are that Harry Kane likes the idea of joining Bayern Munich, and we can get into that. But they've had a bid rejected, which, when you break it down, Bayern Munich have offered £68 million for him. £68 million only. That's $3 million more than Kai Havertz for one of the best strikers in the world. Jords, not only just talk. I mean, I know you're offended by it, but why are they bidding such a low amount of money?
First of all, I just need to clarify what you said. Not just one of the best strikers in the world, one of the best strikers in Premier League history and English football history. This is so disrespectful. I don't know what they're doing with these low fees. They're trying to come to my club, lowball us. And I wore this shirt on purpose today. As some people may know, this is a very famous shirt. The last time a striker was forced to leave our club and go to Bayern Munich was a little old Jurgen Klinsmann. We wasn't happy that time, and we definitely ain't happy this time. If they want Harry Kane, put the money up. Give us the 100 million that we're actually talking, and the one money that's going to do some business. You see me? I'm not one of these Tottenham fans that are trying to imprison Kane. Let him go. If he wants to leave, let him go, but we're only going to do this at the right price. At the end of the day, this is business. Man City tried to bully us. They will never do it. You cannot bully Levy into a position that he does not want to be in. And they're only making it worse. They think they can come out here and bid 68 million. It's only going to make the price go higher. And at this moment in time, I'm hearing Sami Mokbel come out early on today saying we want 120 million for Kane. It wouldn't have been that if they wasn't doing these low fees. But now that they don't want to do these 100 million fees and pay the money that we want, it's only going to cause problems for Bayern. So I'm quietly confident that we're going to be keeping Harry Kane. Looking forward to a season with Harry Kane. And unless they pay the money that we wanted, he's going nowhere.
You're not scared about losing him for free, though?
No, I'm actually not. I feel like the prospect of keeping Kane would be a lot more promising. But once we go through the season, we know what Harry Kane's like. We've seen him sign contracts with Tottenham, and we've seen him go into talks with Tottenham after the transfer window. And that is the plan at the moment in time. If he doesn't get through this transfer window, he'll probably see how the season starts. Of course, we're going to have to be in a better position than we were last season, but If we do well and we keep Harry Kane, I feel like the team will put itself in a better position, as in finishing Champions League football places again. Keeping Harry Kane will be a prospect that I think a lot of Tottenham fans will see happening. I don't see him leaving to another English club for free, unless it could potentially be Man United. But again, it didn't happen this year. It shows that they didn't really want him, and he hasn't really spoken to them. He's been speaking to Bayern Munich to potentially leave England because his legacy is with Tottenham. I feel like he knows that, he wants that. And yeah, I don't see him going for free. And to be fair, that's next season's problem. I'm trying to focus on this season, and at this moment in time, as long as Bayern Munich don't pay the money, which they look very reluctant to pay. They look like they really don't want to pay more than 80 million, which is, I think, their record transfer price at the moment. Their record transfer is like 80 odd million. So I don't think they want to go above that for Kane. And if they don't, they're not going to get their man.
Let's assume, for argument's sake, that he does go on a free. So he doesn't sign an extension. So it means in January he'll be able to speak to non-English clubs. Do you not think it's a bit silly to lose out on like 80 million euros? And also, I mean, what's the best case scenario if Kane stays? That Spurs get Champions League football, for which they'll just get knocked out early on anyway, so it's irrelevant. You've lost 80 million euros, and you haven't. And
No.
You won
the Champions League once now. Don't start talking like you run through these Champions League stages.
More importantly, you
won't.
won't be preparing for life after Kane, because you'll have 1 year where one assumes that your manager will try to build a team around Kane or whatever. So it actually means next season you'll actually might be in a net negative situation where Kane hasn't stayed, and actually your squad's in a worse shape because you played around Kane and you haven't actually prepared for life after Kane, and you're 80 million down.
I don't feel like the 80. You say 80. So again, we need to reclarify. That's 68 million including add-ons. It's not a lot of money. I feel like that type of money. If we get Champions League football next season for, let's say, and then he does go on a free, you're going to be making 40, 50, 60 odd million with Champions League football in the money that it comes with. So
I think it's around 30.
That's just the base money, but then we're talking about all the match day revenues and everything that gets built up throughout the season. It definitely goes a lot higher. So again, Tottenham aren't going to be looking at that short-term investment of getting Kane 60 million and reinvesting it, because there is no player out there like Harry Kane. There's no strikers out there that are going to come into the Premier League and guarantee you, let's say 20 plus goals in a Premier League season. No one's doing that in the world right now. You can look at Vlahovic. He's going to go for 60 odd million. Right, Rasmus Højlund about 60 million. Osmehan 150 million. If you're talking these prices for players like Osmehan, who, let's not lie, he's had 2-3 good seasons at the top level. Harry Kane's been doing it for 9 years. Let's not put no disrespect out there. You need to be paying 90 plus million for a player of that caliber. And the fact that Declan Rice has gone for 105 million with 1 year left. Mason Mount has gone for 60 odd million one year left. And a few players are going for around 60, 70 million with 1 year left. And you're trying to offer that for Kane, who's a world-class player. It's just disrespectful. And quite frankly, it's not showing the value of what he is.
Isn't that just negotiations, though? Sorry, Nobbins. Like, they're going to go in low and see whether they can get a better deal. Because, as Nobbins said, Kane going to Bayern Munich is the best bet, because you don't want him going United, you don't want him going City, you don't want him going, of course he's not going to go there, but you don't want him going to one of the rivals. Imagine he ends up at Chelsea. That would be mayhem, like, for Tottenham. Him going to Bayern Munich actually it weakens you, of course, but it doesn't strengthen the rivals in the Premier League. And actually, with the funds, you can then invest into the squad that can then actually help you guys get into the top four, get into the Champions League. I mean, would your new manager even want a player like Kane if he doesn't want to stay?
I mean, I'm not being funny. Kane is not. We've seen Kane down tools for about a week or two at Man City. Came back and still had an amazing season. He was still scored 20 goals. I'm not being funny. Kane is not going to be the type of player to play in the Tottenham team, not want to be there, and then show his frustrations out on the pitch. I'm not being. He's the Tottenham captain. He's the England captain. He has a legacy at Tottenham, and he will never want to ruin that. So whether he wants to leave or not, I don't feel like that's ever going to be a problem. The one thing that you did say that I don't agree with is that isn't negotiations. If you're going to go to a team and you want their player, you need to show from the start that you're serious about getting that player. And throwing a lowball offer of 60 million in there to get started with, knowing that our asking price is at least 30 or 40 million above that, it doesn't show that you're looking to go in for negotiations. It looks like what they're trying to do is unsettle the player. They're trying to show that they want Harry Kane to come out like he did with Man City and say, look, I don't want to be here. I want to leave the club. But this time around, I'm not being funny. His whole camp, Charlie Kane and so on, has already come out and said he's not going to. He would never do that again. Basically, he's never going to down tools publicly and say he wants to leave Tottenham. So they're going to have to pay the money. He's going to have to do it all behind doors and then leave. And if they don't do that, he's never going to come out and say he wants to leave. So they're not going to pay the money.
Look, I think in the short term, I get where you're coming from, but I kind of agree with Nobbins and the boys were saying that. I think Bayern Munich's thought process is, well, we think we can get him cheaper than your asking price, because if we sign him now, he doesn't join a big rival of yours in the summer. Now, I know you don't see Man United as rivals because we've never competed for trophies together and there's no geographical connection. But there's at least one other club in London, in Chelsea, that will come sniffing for him next year. Poch is their manager, who is very close with Harry Kane. And for any Spurs fan that thinks, nah, he'd never do that, I don't believe that. I think he could. I don't think they could do it, but the arrogance I see from Spurs fans around, no, buy and give us our money, or we're keeping him, we don't care if he leaves for free. I hope he joins Arsenal next year. Just to rub salt into the wound a little bit. Like, there's
what I don't get is wait. Why is it with Tottenham? Whenever it's Tottenham, it's just take the money you get given, go over there and get what you get given. Whenever it's West Ham, whenever it's Brighton, whenever it's any other club, Man United, Liverpool, it's no. If they want that money, pay the price they want.
What do you value in that, Jords?
When West Ham and Aston Villa held out for their 100 million price tags for the likes of Grealish, the likes of Rice, who was very much yet unproven, they got the money they wanted, and they was praised for holding out that price tag. When Tottenham are doing this with a world-class player, that means the world to Tottenham as a club. He's a player that came from Tottenham. We do not want to lose him, and he's irreplaceable in world football. Why are we being the villains?
Jess, I want to respond to that. Sorry.
Okay,
why? The difference is West Ham are not competing with Arsenal or with Man City for titles, for top 4 positions, for trophies and domestic outcomes. There's also there is a chance that your greatest ever player could leave you for free next summer. He's not going to sign a new deal and can join not just a rival for those trophies and Champions League positions, but potentially a geographical rival like a Chelsea. So it's a case of, I'm not saying just take whatever money. I'm saying think beyond the end of your nose, see the wood through the trees. Yes, you might want 120 million for him so you can reinvest it, but maybe taking 90 in totality from Bayern Munich, stopping him from ever joining a Premier League rival is better, because him joining in a year's time is still going to damage Tottenham when he makes a team like Man United or Chelsea better, that stops you from getting Champions League football and stops you from winning trophies. That's the point I'm making. It's almost, yes, you're going to lose 20, 30 million in value, but him going to Man United or Chelsea or worse is far more detrimental than walking away from 20 or 30 million pounds extra, in my opinion. That's the difference in this, my bro. I'm not actually having a pop at you guys for wanting more money. I'm saying Daniel Levy letting him go for free, considering everyone talked about what a hard bargain he drives and how amazing he is with money, you're never replacing Harry Kane. In my opinion, Spurs will never have a striker for the rest of your club's history as good as Harry Kane. And the reason I say that is because strikers like him come around once every 50 years in England, anywhere. The likelihood of Spurs having two of them on the bounce is crazy. You'll never see a Harry Kane again at your club. The last time you had a guy this good was Greavesy. You look how long ago that was, right? That was a 60s player for you, I think. So you might not be alive the next time this happens to you again. The fact he's going to be allowed to leave for free and you're not catching it in on him and getting any money to reinvest, and you guys say how tight-fisted your board is. So imagine getting no money for him and thinking you're going to get anywhere near replacing his quality. Spurs fans should be demanding the sale of him this summer, thinking about your club more than the player. That's my view, bro.
What do you value, Matt Jords?
Let me just say, I don't feel like £90 million is a bad fee. I would 100% agree with you and say £90 million is more than enough for a player of him, and we should let him go. But the bids that they're putting in right now, which is £68 million, is
you sound very similar to the West Ham fans, though. It was the same thing West Ham fans were saying, that Arsenal were lowballing, they weren't serious, blah, blah, blah. And then we ended up meeting somewhere in the middle. Like, I think it's just very, out there.
In the middle, though, because they always wanted 100 and you paid them.
They wanted 120. When it first started, they wanted 120.
Well,
and we ended up at
105. You started off at 75.
And we started at 80. That's the middle. That's the literal middle.
You went over there again. They wanted an English record, and that's what you gave them. You gave them a British English record.
We started at 80. We met up at 100. They wanted 120. They, it's 20 off in either direction. That's meeting somewhere in the middle. Am I doing the math wrong? It's in the middle.
95 to 100 million.
But you guys will meet somewhere in the middle.
Jords, what do you value him at? Because like I
again, I've said that I value him between 190 and 100 million.
Right,
Around
so around.
do you
not think that's too much for he will be 30 in a couple of weeks? I appreciate it's very good, but he's 30 in a few weeks. It's 1 year left on the contract, and I appreciate that player values are all opinion based, but like in advance of this, I did some like research. So KPMG, one of the big accounting firms, values him at 70 million. Transfermarkt values him at 77 million. And the Global Institute for Sport Studies values him at 86 million. So do you not think that Levy, with his like 100 million price tag or whatever, do you not think he's being a bit unreasonable?
No, because I don't ever take those type of values into consideration. If I'm totally honest, we're looking at the value of the market right now. Wait, I'm looking at the value. I'm looking at the value of the market right now.
I agree.
I'm looking at the current deals that have gone on in this transfer window. That sets precedent for the rest of the transfer window. Mason Mount, 1 year left. You even look at Brentford with David Raya. You look at all these deals where players have 1 year left and they're all getting 20 to 30 million above the price which they should usually be valued at. Harry Kane, as you said, is a once-in-a-lifetime player. Lewandowski has just turned 34 years old. Benzema has just turned 35 years old and just coming back of amazing seasons. If you guys don't think that he can go to Bayern for 2 years, perform at the best that he has already, and take it over to a league that, let's be real, has just dropped out. I think it's the third or fourth best league in the world. So it's quite low down. And if you don't think that he can score 20 or 30, or take them to whatever they need to do, they need to pay the price they want. 90 million. Kane is going to do that, and that is the value of what he is.
What makes you think they won't come to 90, though? I don't understand.
I don't think that's unreasonable for Jords to ask, though. I'm struggling to understand how that's unreasonable. 90 million, I think, is quite reasonable. Right now, the offers that Bayern have offered are taking the piss for Harry
70.
Kane.
They're at 70, aren't they?
70.
Yeah, but that's not right for Harry Kane, though. That's not right. That's way below what Tottenham should accept.
That's 20 million.
Arsenal started at 80 and they got to 100. They're negotiating.
That's what it is. They're negotiating. Yeah, I think Jords is right in saying that he would accept 90 million. I don't think Bayern Munich are going to walk away. I think they're trying their luck. I do think that you're right in saying that they're kind of looking to unsettle him. Obviously, they know that you're probably going to accept less than what you would from a Chelsea or from a United, because again, we're rivals, we're direct rivals playing the same league. So I do think that eventually you're going to meet in the middle. But if they do hit that 85 million plus nice add-ons, or because we know Bayern are going to win stuff, right? So they're achievable. It'll be silly if Levy starts rejecting them at that point. I think for now it's right what you're doing if you're going to reject what they've recently offered. But yeah, I think 90 million is reasonable to be asking for that, to be honest. Even though he's got a year left, you've pretty much gone through all the points I would have made as well.
I feel like they
also look at Mbappe. How much is Mbappe again? PSG are charging 200 million for Mbappe with 1 year left. Yes, he's young. You're going to get a long time out of him. But still, they're charging more than what they was charging years ago when he didn't have that time left. So again,
this is Mbappe is a completely different conversation, though, right? He's a world superstar. Like Kane is a superstar, but he's not a world superstar. Like Mbappe sets you up for life. Kane is not going to set Bayern up for life.
So with 1 year left, you're allowed to charge a world record fee for a player, which is double the price we're charging for Kane. By the way, it's crazy for us to charge 90 for Kane, who is.
I don't
let's
think
say you say he's going to set him up.
Who said it was crazy? Who said it was crazy?
I think what Nobbins was saying about KPMG's valuation, I think that's accurate. Like that's his market value because of his age and the time left on his contract. But you're gonna add the extra 20-30 million because it's a massive asset to Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Even Declan Rice, I would say his market value is probably 75 to 80 million if you're looking at it from face value. But they added the extra because of who he is to the club and how big of an asset he is. So I don't think Jords has been unreasonable for us to ask for 90 million.
But not only that, it's the brand. Like when you're looking at Grealish and Rice, it's the brand that they have within the country that they're moving to. So when Arsenal are purchasing Rice, it's not only, of course, a large proportion of that is because of what they do on the pitch, but it's also what does he represent off the pitch. Declan Rice is now the skipper, captain. You're seeing him on adverts in the UK. If Harry Kane was moving from Tottenham to United, that's something that they can negotiate. In Germany, Harry Kane won't be that star.
He's the English captain.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Jerry.
That doesn't mean anything in the German league, though.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Jerry. Yeah, they can use right now. Spurs have the upper hand because they know that Bayern Munich are in desperate need of a striker. Right? they need a striker because last season they literally won the league on the last day of the season, right? And Mane, obviously, he was inconsistent. He ended up punching up his teammate and stuff. I don't know what's going on there. He might end up in Saudi. They know right now that Bayern Munich need a striker. So Tottenham, they can hold out for this amount because they know how desperate they are. It will be very silly for Tottenham to accept something which is below what they should be accepting right now, in all honesty. They hold all the power right now.
But now that Bayern are bidding, though, just really quick, now that Bayern are bidding, I'm sure that they're pretty confident that they can get it done. They're not bidding just for bidding's sake. They've spoken to Kane. They probably have some sort of assurances that he's desperate to come to them. You know, they're putting it out there in the media that he's desperate to come to them. And I'm sure that they know that there is a fee that you can get to with Tottenham that will make it happen. Like, I don't think they're just out here just putting out bids like just, oh, let's just see. You know, Bayern are a serious club. Like, they are serious. If they're bidding, they feel like they can get him. I think they will. Like, they'll eventually get to the middle because Levy is not going to want him going to Man United or Chelsea. So this is it. It's happening.
I hear that. There's some super chats here. The first one says Spurs can't afford to lose Kane unless it's a huge fee. Yeah, I mean, look, Spurs are done when Kane leaves in terms of being a competitive force because they just won't replace those goals. You won't. You won't. You're just not going to replace them.
You know what, no, Terry? Do you know what? I know you say that, right? And I know with Gareth Bale, obviously they signed like Paulinho at the time and all those players, right? And it didn't really work out. But with what I've heard about Ange, apparently he's got good talent ID. Do you know what I mean? He could bring in players that we've never heard of who fit his system, want to play for him, understand the project, and it could click. Do you know what I mean? Because right now Spurs are a little bit of a one-man team. So I don't agree with the notion that if Kane leaves, that's it, Tottenham are done. I think that was set up Ange to actually start his sort of rebuild of Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Because he can actually bring in his own players that will actually fit the system. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I don't think they'll be done.
So what's your prediction? They're going to go from challenging to win trophies, but not winning them to what? So they challenge to win, but never do. My definition of being done is just I don't think they'll challenge as much. They might play pretty football, but they don't win now. I don't see them winning without Harry Kane and having Ange. Yeah. I don't see Spurs. I think they'll put themselves in a better position to actually build something in the next few years, even if they get a cheeky little Carabao or maybe even an FA Cup along the way. I'm not saying they're gonna win something next season without Harry Kane because that's unrealistic. That's probably not. Can you imagine if they get rid of Harry Kane and don't win the FA Cup? It'd be hilarious. It actually
exactly.
I'd have to applaud them for that. To be fair.
But I think it just allows them to kickstart that rebuild because right now there's still a lot of sentimental feeling around Kane. But I think in all honesty, you don't want him leaving on a free. And listen, Chelsea will be very naive to think that we won't try and get him on a free, and it would be very naive to think that Harry Kane won't be open to that move. Do you know what I mean? So,
I wonder if Sol has Harry Kane's number. Jess, would you sign him for free next year at Arsenal, Harry Kane? Would you bring him home because he was an Arsenal fan as a kid?
Absolutely, I'm not crazy. Like we need a striker at that point, and nothing would make me feel better than seeing Jords upset on a stream because Harry Kane is wearing the red and white. Come back home. You won't end up with us, but it would just be funny. And I think he's world class. I think he's a special player. So.
I just remembered I saw transfer values the other day, and apparently Gabriel Jesus is valued at 86 million. A player that's never scored more than 10 Premier League goals is valued more than Harry Kane. So that's what I mean. Your transfer values, they mean nothing to me.
But that's why though you should read KPMG's full report on how they make their valuations because clubs use it. And things like a player's age and length of their contract are two massive factors. Their commercial value is huge. And then also what you have to factor in is what they call sporting potential when you sign that player. So Man United signing a player is more expensive than West Ham signing the same player because there's potential for the club to go on and win things in comparison to, well, I know West Ham just won a trophy. But all these things factor in. And when I read KPMG's breakdown of how they value players, it stopped me from being shocked by the valuation and transfer fee of players. It made that's why, or deluding myself thinking this guy's worth more or less than he really is. But age and like a 23-year-old that isn't as good as Harry Kane with 1 year left on his contract would typically be valued similarly to any player 29, 30 years of age with 1 year left on their contract. Because what Kane doesn't have is sell-on value, and sell-on value is a big part of the factor. Can you recoup money at the end of the contract? If you can't, it makes them cheaper. So all these things, it's worth reading. It's a really, really good breakdown. This here says Lewandowski went for £40 million. This is true. But Lewandowski's not as good as Kane. But there we go. That's my opinion.
He was older as well at the time, right? I don't know how long he had left on his contract.
About 3 years older. Absolutely.
Lukaku, 100 million at 28.
Spurs fan on the right top is Levi Colwill, just in a different font.
So
Is that only because he's mixed race? He looks nothing like Levi.
they normally call him the pound shop Drake. Normally,
I can see Drake. I can't see
My
that.
hair's grown out now. I ain't got no do-rag, no fade, so they can drop that one, man.
there we go. It would take 65 million for Harry Kane instead of I would take 65 for Harry Kane instead of losing him for free, is what an Arsenal fan here says. Terry, you're so lucky Arsenal didn't win the league because Jess would have strapped you to the parade bus with your eyes tapped open and Gunnar and Igal next to you.
I thought that comment was going another way then.
yeah, I was like, what?
I was like, well, damn it.
I was afraid to read the rest.
Yeah, and that definitely, but neither of those things would ever happen in my house. I'm just saying that now. Hi, Terry. Hope you guys are close to Onana and Amrabat. So we'll come back to that one in a little bit when we talk about United. 1 year on the contract, 112 million. I'm a Chelsea fan. Is Richard Cox thinks a big valuation. Jords, would you sell on deadline day if they met the asking price?
I wouldn't do it on deadline day, honestly. I think that would be worse for us. We'd have to do it again. If we want to get him sold, it should be before the end of this month. It shouldn't go into August.
Yeah, agreed. You got to find it. Who would your personal ideal replacement be if Kane was to leave? Not Richarlison, clearly.
To be fair, I'd take a hit with Vlahovic, as that's the only striker I think that for me could come to the Premier League, is available, good price, and I like him. I do like what he brings, and he's young, so that'd be my pick.
Would you not entertain Tony if he didn't have the ban?
If he didn't have the ban, I would. I'd go for Tony as well, but 6 months for no football, can't do that, man.
I hear that one. JJ, Liverpool.
Yeah.
What's going on? You signed a couple of players. It's gone a little quiet again. Thiago may be on his way out the football club. Are you feeling? I know you're someone that's very, what's the word? You know, you really slam the club for its lack of investment in recent years. You happy so far with this window? Or do you think you need to be a lot busier?
No, I am. I mean, like, deals take time to get done. We've addressed the main area that needed addressing, which was obviously the midfield, and signing obviously Szoboszlai and then McAllister. Yeah, I mean, look, there's still other areas I'd want to obviously invest in. Obviously, there's links with Levi Colwill and Liverpool. Still potentially, obviously, getting Lavia. But we're in a situation now where Liverpool need to essentially sell to buy now, because we've got currently we've got 9 options in midfield at the moment. So forgetting the argument about whether they're good enough or not, there's 9 players that, are fighting for 3 positions on the pitch. So to get a Lavia in, to get a Kefren Turam in, we're going to have to go and sell. The rumours obviously about Thiago, and then obviously today Henderson as well, apparently being open to a move to Saudi Arabia, linking up with Steven Gerrard, which obviously that's a massive bit of news. Like the main question is right now with Liverpool is, will Henderson leave, or should he leave? Should I say? I mean, I would have been open to it maybe last season if we had still kept around a few faces. I think Liverpool are playing a risky game if they're just trying to offload a lot of players and chuck in a new batch and just expect to be challenging and winning the league next season, which some Liverpool fans expect. I just don't see that happening. But that's it really. I mean, it's gone a bit quiet now, but Liverpool do move in silence, and they've proved it with the Szoboszlai deal. So we just don't know what's going on in the background.
Jerry, what's your thoughts on Thiago Silva? Because I had this conversation with Mons, and he wants to keep him. But my opinion, I feel that. Okay, I'll let you go in then. I'll say what I think.
Well, what you mean? You mean Thiago Alcantara or Silva from Chelsea?
Thiago, sorry, not Thiago Silva. Sorry, Thiago. My bad. Yeah.
Baller. I think everyone can say that. I think you can see ability on the ball, second to none, top player. But he's just not consistent enough. Whether that's because of injuries, when we signed him, that for me as a Liverpool fan was the first player in my life where I saw and was like, oh, he's like the ready-made guy coming to Liverpool. Like, we're not thinking, oh, look, there's potential in this player, or he's coming on the back end of his career. This is like a player that's in his prime, just come off the back of winning the Champions League. I thought, Liverpool are going to a new level. And bar the odd performance here and there, if I'm being honest, he hasn't revolutionized the way Liverpool play it. And because of the way he plays, you need to play through him a lot. You've got to play through Thiago. So if he's not available and your whole game plan's about allowing Thiago to dictate the game, if he's not available, if he's not about, then you're asking Curtis Jones or Henderson to go and do that. And now it just disbalances the whole team, or it balances the whole team. I think for me, I'd get rid of him, if I'm being honest, man. I'd get rid of him. I mean, look, we won without that type of player. Right now, I think we need players that are just available and ready to go and play. And I think putting all our eggs into this 30-year-old that averages 22 games a season, like, come on, it's just not worth it. Liverpool aren't in the position where, you know, our squad's full and we can have that cherry on top of the sundae or the cake, where it's just, go. We've got Thiago in the squad as well. He's going to need to be a big part of what Liverpool are doing right now, especially if we're entertaining the idea of getting rid of, you know, we got rid of Milner, Naby Keita's left, Oxlade-Chamberlain's left. The idea that Henderson might be leaving to Saudi Arabia as well, potentially. If he's the guy with the experience that we're relying on, God forbid he gets injured, who have we got to come off the bench? You're looking at right now, it's Morton, Bajcetic, Elliott. Like, it's just not going to be good enough. And I know we'd probably bring someone in. So yeah, obviously it's sad how it's panned out. It's 100% sad how it's panned out. And obviously in hindsight, it hasn't worked. But at the time, it would have been a great sign. But I'd have got rid of him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said as well. Because Mons was kind of saying how he wants to keep him because he feels that for the big games he would play well. But I'm with the same thoughts as you. Like, do you even trust that he'll be available when it comes to these big games? Do you know what I mean? This guy can be. I said this to him. I said he can be walking to the shop, he'll get injured. Do you know what I mean? He's dropping his kids off to school, he'll get injured, bro. Yeah, like he's not reliable.
We say for the big games. But there's been a handful. There's been like a handful of games where you look and you're like, oh wow, he's bossed that game. Like United's one that comes to mind when he done really, really well. And his first game, do you know what I mean, against Chelsea, when he broke the amount of passes made in a half. This is at Anfield, I think, when he first signed. Apart from that, a couple games in the Champions League, he hasn't been like a needle mover. He hasn't been the equivalent of De Bruyne at City, or Gundogan even, where he plays every single game and he's winning games for us and he's such an important part. Back end of last season, he hardly played, then he was fit, and that was our best run in this season. That enabled us to, do you know what I mean, fight for that challenge.
Thiago at Liverpool, he's been the eye test dream. Even when he looks good doing almost absolutely nothing, and the highlight reel looks good because you can make anybody's highlight reel look good. But you saw at the end of the season when Trent went into the midfield areas, Trent was breaking lines and he was making a difference. Now Trent probably loses possession a little more regularly than Thiago, but that's because he tries things. Too often for me, Thiago plays it safe. Too often it's a case of that ball should have gone through to someone in the middle, but no, I'm gonna keep them passing stats at 95%. And I'm not saying there's a time and a place for everything, but he's just a little bit too safe.
Everything's always pretty. Everything's just always.
Thiago, with Thiago, I use this all the time, right? Is he bamboozles fans. So what he does is he can make a 5-yard pass, which Fabinho, Henderson, Milner would make. They will get the ball and just square it off there. They might just make the pass quickly, play it 2-touch. Thiago will get it, do this little shimmy, and then make that same pass. And it might even take longer to get that pass off, but he's done the same thing. It doesn't have that same impact. I mean, if you look at the stats as well of Thiago, the amount of kind of line-breaking passes he makes has dropped significantly since when he first came. He now just runs more and makes more tackles, which begs the question, we don't even have Thiago in the squad to do what Thiago was best known for doing. Right now, he's just running around and doing the Henderson role. We don't need him for that.
Do you know what's mad about it? I used to drive an i8, a BMW i8, and they look like Lamborghinis, but they've got almost zero performance. They're not that great. They're not that quick. My M4 looks good, but nowhere near as nice. But it destroys it. But that's because how it looks. People used to take pictures of my car, which I found very weird, by the way. Like, you'd see kids, you drive past a bunch of kids, oh my God, that car's amazing. Actually, spec-wise, it's pretty average. But that's how a lot of football fans watch football. If something looks good, they ignore the underlying statistics and outputs and delivery and consistency of a player because it looks good, because it moves them, because it makes them feel a certain way. And you have to learn to ignore that to a certain degree and focus on how much more do you improve when that player's in the team to drop off without them. And Liverpool with Thiago, without Thiago, it's same for me. I don't see you as exponentially better or worse with or without him. He's a good player. But for me, he's just not adapted to the Premier League. I thought he would, by the way. I thought he'd come in and you lot would see why we love Paul Scholes so much. But he just isn't able to do it. But yeah, look, but there's also a report coming out of Saudi in the last hour that Henderson's transfer to Steven Gerrard's team is very advanced, and Henderson could be on his way out as well. He's on his way out. So yeah, a lot of your experience could be leaving. Big overhaul needed.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm someone that I get the process. I think this is something that should have been done over a longer period of time. So Henderson should have left potentially last season. I mean, the likes of Milner should have left probably the season before. We're now doing it in this like quick cluster, and I look at Chelsea, and I'm like, Liverpool need to be careful here, because if you just try to gel a whole lot of players. Yeah, we're not doing it to the level of a Chelsea. But if we just try to do that in a short period of time, if there's any fans out there that think, Liverpool need to go and, with challenge, as Hussam likes to talk about, the expectancy is that Liverpool are going to be optimistically challenging for the league, winning the Europa League as an example, or winning honours. That's probably, in my opinion, not going to happen if we go and do that. I think we saw when Fabinho first came to the team, it took him till January to get into the team. Same thing as Robertson, it took him till January. We're going to now have to rely on Szoboszlai, McAllister, whoever else we go and sign, Alavia as an example that Liverpool are looking like, to just come into the team and it's like plug and play. There you go. You got to hit the ground running. If that don't happen, Liverpool aren't going to go and win. Now, look, if Liverpool have decided, you know what, we're going to go and take a hit next season and we're going to try and go and challenge the season after or the season after that, then fair. But you're talking about a long period of time now. I mean, 2-3 seasons. We haven't won the league in how long? It's been 7, 8 years now. It flies by. So, I'd want him to be in the squad because I think you need someone there that's still been a constant. I don't think you want too many changes in one season. But who am I, man?
You're gonna keep Fabinho though. I think that's enough because you're right now, like you've said. This whole rebuild in your midfield has been something that you've needed to do for a minute now. Do you know what I mean? If you keep hold of these players like Henderson, for example, even Thiago, you're just delaying the inevitable. I get what you're saying about Chelsea in terms of gelling, but the reason why we couldn't gel is because we had too many players, bro. So what you don't want is a situation where you've got a bloated squad. You need to start trimming down, and you actually need to start building now for the next era of your midfield. Do you know what I mean? Because these players, Henderson, Thiago, they're not putting up numbers no more.
No, I agree, but for me, I've got to look at the cost of having a Henderson to the cost of, for example, getting a Lavia and having a Bajcetic, right? What's more beneficial to Liverpool? Having Henderson or Thiago even playing 10 minutes or 20 minutes in a game to see out a game? Or is it better to have a Bajcetic or an Elliott to come on and play 20 minutes, 15 minutes? Because ultimately, that's the minutes they'll have to get if considering that Fabinho, Szoboszlai and McAllister play. For me, if that's the case, Bajcetic is, for example, better off going and getting a season in the Premier League in a team and playing 36, 38 games a season like Lavia did. Elliott is better off playing games week in, week out, because then we're going to go and actually see the progression and the development of these players. If we're going and relying on these players to, look, Szoboszlai's not performing well, or he needs to go and come off because there's an injury. Yeah, Liverpool are relying on Elliott now to see them out. For me, that's a scarier prospect than having a Henderson there that we know has seen it, has done it, has been with Liverpool for ages, and having someone like that in the squad for me is more beneficial, especially when you're going through a transition, even if it is for that one season. Especially,
but that's where Lavia comes in, though. That's where Lavia comes in because you guys want him, right? So if you do buy him, then I would say he's the guy to come in rather than Elliott or what's his name?
Bajcetic. But again, we're looking at a player that obviously, if we spend 50 million on him, he's going to obviously play games because that's a massive amount of money. But then we're taking away from the minutes of an Elliott, of a Bajcetic that a lot of Liverpool fans want to go and see us succeed. And if that's the case, that's fine. That's one that goes in the DM. What about the other midfield position? Who's there? Who's your tried and tested? You know what, he's going to come in and just do a job quickly. I think you saw it. Fernandinho was that option for Liverpool for Man City for a while. Liverpool need that equivalent, and I think Henderson should have been doing that role from last season. This is what I'm talking about. But Liverpool have done this so late. They're now getting rid of Milner, getting rid of Henderson. You get rid of Thiago as well. In the squad now, the only players that have really done it for Liverpool in terms of winning the league is what? Van Dijk, Alisson, Trent, in terms of spine anyway. Van Dijk, Alisson, Trent, and Salah.
Robertson as well.
Yeah, Robertson. But if we're going to play this 3 at the back thing, we're looking to go and get potentially a Levi Colwill. If we spend 50 million on Levi Colwill, Robertson ain't playing like that anymore.
I don't know why you guys aren't in for Paulinho like that, really. I think he'll be a sick signing for Liverpool.
I think they want like 78 million, don't they? Like they want.
Yeah, but they're only saying that to just scare people away. They're not gonna get 90 million realistically. Let's be real.
Do you think Liverpool can get Colwill away from you?
Nah. That's not happening. That ain't even a rumor coming from any agents or anything like that or any journalists. It's Liverpool fans that have made this, that started this. You guys started this with Caicedo, Enzo. Now it's Colwill. It's not happening. The guy's under contract. All that needs to happen is we need to have a conversation with him, let him know what his role is. Obviously, we're going to offer him a new contract as well to actually show him that, listen, you're part of the team now. You're going to up your wages. And yeah, just to have a conversation with him. Because right now, as it stands, he's our first choice. Badiashiel's out injured. Koulibaly's gone. So he's literally our first choice left centre-back. So Liverpool fans are just annoying themselves because what's going to happen is Colwill's going to be in that first team, like I said. The first game when we've got you lot on that Sunday, he'll be in our starting 11. He's not guy in Liverpool. There's no chance. No chance he got.
Even if he doesn't want to stay, because
people are starting. I don't know if we're going into the Colwill segment. Terry, I don't know.
Let's just go. Nice and organic. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So with Colwill, I know people are looking at that video and they're making assumptions about the video, because he kind of just moved away from Madueke. It's not that deep. I said this the other day, like footballers will never come out and say, I'm definitely going to sign a contract. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm definitely staying. They'll never do that, bro, because what happens when you do that? You lose your bargaining power. Do you know what I mean? Once he says that on camera, that's it. The bargaining power is gone. He needs to go to Chelsea and make them aware that, listen, I've got Liverpool after me. I've got this team after me. I've got many people interested in me. What can you guys do for me? He will never come out in public. That'll be very silly for him to do that. So I'm not even angry that he reacted like that, because really and truly, it's like Noni's quite an extrovert. I don't know about Levi. He seems a bit, keeps himself to himself. Everyone's different. Do you know what I mean? He will never come out and make it obvious that he's staying at Chelsea. But all that's coming out right now is that we need to have a conversation. We've had it in the works to give Levi a new contract. It was only Tuchel that wanted to get rid of him. Todd Bowley blocked that move. When we signed Mudryk, Levi was back at Stamford Bridge to watch that game, his first game when Mudryk got signed. He was there. So it's Liverpool fans that are trying to start this whole thing about him going Liverpool because apparently he's a Liverpool fan, but it's not going to happen. Like we're not selling him. He's literally our first choice.
I'm not saying it won't happen. It will or won't. What I will say though is that if Liverpool are being linked with someone like a Colwill, especially for the level of Liverpool, this isn't like an Enzo's like he's a massive. I mean, if he ended up at Real Madrid or ended up at City, no one would have been surprised. Colwill obviously had a good season at Brighton, but he's not this world beat at the moment. So for me, if Liverpool are linked with the likes of like a Lavia, the likes of a Colwill, I think there's serious interest in the way the reporters are talking about Colwill. I think Liverpool are interested. Now, whether a deal can get done, that's a different question. Yeah. I'm just interested to see if Colwill was to say, I don't want to stay at Chelsea, and Liverpool can guarantee him game time, I see him going to Liverpool, because I think Todd Bowley, the way he would do business is say, you know what, he doesn't want to be here. Pochettino can't have players there that are going to start. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be here. I don't want to play. You get rid of him, get your 40, 50 million or whatever, and then you're able to go and invest that into the squad. Because I think that's what you guys are doing anyway. With to get rid of the Pulisic, Havertz.
I think I'd be more worried about it if we still had Koulibaly, but the fact of the matter is we moved him on to actually make a space for Colwill. And like I said, right now the role is his if he wants it. I know people are saying, oh, you guys have Badiashile, but from a few people that I've spoken to that were watching Badiashile at Monaco, they've said he's actually played right centre-back before as well. So there's nothing stopping Chelsea from playing Badiashile and Colwill. Do you know what I mean? I've said this before about Colwill playing at left-back if we decide to do what Pep does. Do you know what I mean? We don't know what type of Poch is going to come into the league now, because Poch hasn't been in the Prem for quite a while. So we don't know the different roles that he can actually have Levi playing. But as it stands, he's literally our first choice. So it's a matter of having that conversation, making him aware that he's part of our future. It's not just Poch that wanted him. It's the club that have wanted him for a minute. It was Tuchel that wanted to get rid. So I think Chelsea fans, if anyone's panicking that Levi is going to leave, it's not going to happen. Like it's very, very unlikely. I just don't see it.
Out of curiosity, what centre-backs have Chelsea got at the moment? Because I know you guys got rid of a lot of them.
Yeah, so left centre-backs, we've got Colwill, Badiashile. Right centre-backs, you've got Thiago Silva and Fofana. And then you've got Chalobah as well. But he could potentially leave in the summer. We've got Sarr coming back on loan. I don't know if you guys remember him, Malang Sarr. He's going to get sold most likely. So yeah, those are our centre back options. Obviously, we've only got one game a week, so Chalobah will most likely move on. I reckon.
Do you think Colwill was the starter then, knowing that Thiago?
Yeah. Right.
Obviously, Thiago Silva's been amazing for Chelsea. And you got Fofana, you spent 80+ million on. For me, that's
they're right centre backs though, innit? Levi plays on the left, so as it stands, he definitely starts. Badiashile was injured. That gives me a little bit more confidence. Do you know what I mean? If Badiashile was training right now, because he's pretty much going to miss the whole preseason, so by default, he's literally our left centre back, and he's still got 2 years left on his contract. People forget this, with an extra year, if we want to take it up. So it's not like his contract's finishing next year. Like he's still got 2 years there. So yeah, man, I don't see Levi leaving. I think it's just a conversation that needs to be had.
Does Colwill have experience playing left back? Because if not, it's a redundant transfer for Liverpool.
He does. He does.
Okay.
Yeah, he does. He does have the experience playing left back. Yeah, he could definitely play that role. But the only reason why I don't really think it will happen is obviously Poch likes his wing backs going up and down. Do you know what I mean? Levi, I don't know how much he can actually do that. But again, because he's played that role, you never know. Do you know what I mean? Poch might try something different against different opposition, so you never know.
It's certainly gonna be an interesting one. There's no doubt about that. There's some super chats that have come in here. It says that Thiago was mismanaged by Liverpool as he needs to have quality around him, which will now with Alexis and Szoboszlai. He would start all our big games 200%. Clearly our best midfielder is what Neil O'Callaghan says there.
I mean, mismanaged in what way? He's been injury prone at every club he's been at, and had one standout season where he won the Champions League, where people were kind of, touting him as the best midfielder in the world. Apart from that, he's been an amazing talent, showing glimpses of being amazing. But even at Barcelona, he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Iniesta and Xavi, and they got rid of him and got Rakitic. If he was that guy, Barca would have never got rid of him. Look how long Busquets and the likes of that have been at the club. They would have never done that. So, yeah, I mean, technically, yes, but if he's not available, I don't know about that.
Thiago and Partey can offer a lot, but can't stay fit, is what Styguna says. This from Z, who says, Terry, you said Chelsea fans have been missing. Just wanted to say, even though I don't always super chat, I'm always here. Poch is cooking the night. Cheers, by the way, Z. I did read today that the players have already said they've done more running in the first week of pre-season under Poch than they did the whole of last year. And yeah, Chelsea can be interesting next year. Big week around Caicedo as well, because it's really been the deal's just been like treading water now for about 3 weeks. There was that talk of that £60 million bid, and I think Ornstein tweeted that about 4 weeks ago, but nothing's happened. There was talk 3 weeks ago from Fabs that he wants to join you, and that's it.
Literally.
It's such a weird deal, that one.
The only new thing that's come out really is that we want him to join before we actually go on tour to America. I think we leave on Saturday as well, I believe. So if I'm reading between the lines, the fact that we've actually been dealing with them for a minute now, I do think it's quite close. We've taken a different approach. We're not going back and forth in public, bidding constantly. We're trying to get a verbal acceptance and then bid what we know is going to get accepted. So the fact that we won him before we actually go on pre-season, I think we're quite close. I'm praying that something happens this week, because I need to start seeing some more incomings. It's only Jackson so far, so yeah.
Yeah, George, how do you feel like Chelsea? I don't know, we spoke too much this summer. Like Chelsea's business has been so far, because they've got rid of a lot of their deadwood, but only one signing. The Caicedo deal was kind of stalled for weeks now. Do you think they'll be ready? Obviously you understand Poch and what he does at clubs. They'll be ready for the start of the season.
Yeah, I feel like with Poch, for me, I feel like he's a manager that's going to be able to make the most of the very budding academy that Chelsea brings, and they've got a lot of players like the likes of Colwill that are probably waiting for that chance into the Premier League and into that first team. And I feel like Poch can utilize those, the likes of Jackson and these young players that haven't proved themselves yet. He's going to take them to the next level. And the one thing with Poch that you can guarantee, he isn't just a good manager. He's a good coach. He's very good at developing players and improving them in their natural skills in their positions and making them a bit more versatile. So for me, I feel like the window has been a bit underwhelming at the moment, but they've got the business done nice and early for their outgoings to then give them that focus later on in the window. They've still got another 6-7 weeks where they can focus on the positions of who they want to bring in, because they've literally got rid of everyone. They're probably only going to do a few more outgoings. They just had Pulisic done this week. I know you've still got a few more players, so I feel like it's been a bit slow, but we all know Chelsea, they've got the money to spend, so probably give it another month, and they've got a new 4 or 5 players in the window, gone and spent 250 million, and they've brought Poch the players he needs, because we all know there's still a lot of holes in that squad. They've got, one first-team midfielder in the end zone, and then the rest you're looking at like a bit funny. So they still need to sign 3, 4, maybe 5 more players. And we all know they're going to be big signings. I don't expect any of them to be underwhelming. So give it another month, and Chelsea they're still warming up into this window.
And let's not forget, every single time we was having conversations about what Chelsea need to do, everyone was saying Chelsea need to sell first before we start bringing in players. Do you know what I mean? That's the main thing, that even with Chelsea fans, we were saying that we need to start getting rid of players before we even think of incomings. Do you know what I mean? The squad is just too bloated. Obviously, that Saudi relationship helped us because we didn't expect that to come in, but it's good that we're moving in the right direction. I don't think silence is a bad thing. If you remember last summer, Todd Bowley was everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea were everywhere. Every player that we were linked to, there was just leaks everywhere. He was just, moving sporadic with everything. But now it's a little bit more quiet, a little bit more calm. I think things are cooking in the background. Do you know what I mean? So I'm only going to criticize it if, come the end of the window, we haven't made. Do you know what I mean? We haven't made much improvement in terms of the incomings. So for now, we just have to wait. You just have to wait, really. As annoying as it is, it's just a waiting game now, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Chelsea. Yeah, I think Chelsea will make those signings, as you say. I feel like the transfer window in the last week has gone a little quiet, if that makes sense. It's like got a lot of deals, I think, being worked on. No one knows about. There's outgoings. Teams are probably going to start their pre-season and whatever else. But yeah, Chelsea's situation is looking interesting. I think fans should keep a real close eye on that, because I think 2 or 3 big signings will be made. I don't think there's any problems with the Caicedo deal personally. I just think it's exactly where you want it to be. Like when it goes quiet, I don't think that's a negative thing. You know, I've seen that with in the last week with the Declan Rice thing. Certain goons are, what's happening? Why hasn't it been announced? There's no update is a good thing. It's done. It's over the line.
You know what though, Terry? What makes me laugh though is everyone gets onto Fabrizio on Twitter like, "Oh, why'd you keep updating us with the same thing, just changing a few words?" And then when they don't hear anything, they're complaining. You know, you can't win with fans. There's never a balance. There's never a balance in the middle. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just a waiting game, man. There's things that happen in the background. Like we're not going to go into the season without bringing in, like Jords said, at least 2 midfielders. Do you know what I mean? So we just have to wait.
100%. Speaking of midfielders, this is the 3rd different story in a week now that's come out. This time it's from another Spanish outlet, Marca, who say that Arsenal have been handed a huge boost in the potential pursuit of Tchouameni because Real Madrid may need to raise funds to sign Mbappe. But it's the third outlet in the week that keeps running the story that Arsenal were looking at him. Do you think it's doable, Jess? Do you think as a gooner? And I know you don't want to believe in it, but it keeps being printed. Why are these Spanish outlets printing it if there's no chance whatsoever?
Because we're such a gullible fan base and they need them clicks. That's the best thing I could think of. Like, I really just, I don't get it. I don't think that there's like, I think there's probably some truth to it. I don't think journalists can like just make up things. But I do think that it's probably just more Arsenal maybe got in contact, to see if he was available. I know we've been interested in Camavinga as well. And so Real Madrid are looking like maybe they have quite a few midfielders. They're trying to bring in a big player. And so maybe there's an opportunity and maybe Arsenal have looked at that. I'm sure that even maybe Liverpool have looked at that. But to be honest, like, I just don't, the only way I see us bringing in another midfielder period is if Thomas Partey goes. And I think he's very difficult to move just because like the wages, everything, so it's one of those where I can't really get too excited about it because I'm sure it's if in the event that Thomas Partey were to go, this is a player that we'd be interested in. But like, I'm not about to sit here and act like Tchouameni's coming to Arsenal. Like, I'm sure he's desperate to stay where he's at. I really like that's the move of a lifetime. You don't just give it up because of one season. Even Ancelotti's leaving the season after this coming one. So you'll have an opportunity with a new manager, if it doesn't really work out with Ancelotti. So if I had to give it a percentage, I would say like 10% chance, maybe. But, you know, being linked to big players is always nice anyway, because if Arsenal are at least sniffing around, at least I know that they're serious about bringing in great players. I just don't think it's realistic in this window. Sorry.
I mean, you've got to say, so I get where you're coming from. I keep saying I think it's a real outside shot, but the clicks thing by the websites, that no one's clicking on their websites. We're all seeing this news sort of third and fourth hand from aggregators in the UK. It pays. There's no mileage in it really for them to clickbait that. No one's on their websites. Does that make sense? I believe there has to be an element of truth to it as well. They've still got rules about journalism in their country. They can't just make things up out of absolutely nowhere. But I remember when the Onana to Man United deal first came out, it was all by the Italian press. And for like 2 weeks, everybody said it was nonsense. And then suddenly, one by one, the British and the kind of tier one European press started talking about it. And now we're on the edge of it completing. I feel like what you've said, I think there's interest. I think it's all about whether Thomas Partey leaves or not. And I know that people are sort of saying that why would he want to leave? Look, the Mbappe deal, Jords spoke about it earlier, could be a £200 million deal. You've also got to look at the guy's wages. You've really got to look at the wages of that guy. They anticipate that Mbappe, wherever he goes, is going to get paid £2 million a week. And he has somewhere in the and then you've got his signing on fee, inclusive of that, which they put near on 100 million. You're talking about a deal in terms of its total package is hundreds of millions of pounds to bring him in. Whoever buys him, because of FFP, is going to have to sell people. I just think it's important. No one, and the reason, listen, the PSG, they're owned by the Qataris. They've got a monopoly in their country. They've been able to afford doing it through one way, shape, or form. But I'm pretty sure some of the salary of Mbappe is paid not by the club; it will be paid by outside sponsors and everything else. But that's why I believe it might not be Arsenal that get him. I'm just saying I think there's a chance that Tchouameni or maybe one other could leave, because to sign Mbappe is massive. So I'm not saying he goes to Arsenal. I'm saying I think they could have to sell an asset or two because of money. And I don't think he may not end up at Arsenal. He may end up at a Bayern Munich, or he might end up at PSG himself. I don't know. But I think Real Madrid are going to have to sell before they can afford to bring Mbappe in, personally. So, yeah, it's an interesting one for me to see where he ends up. But they keep printing it. Let's just imagine the story's real and Arsenal want to buy him. Can anybody see Tchouameni wanting to join Arsenal?
I don't know why I would, because one assumes he wants to play regularly and stuff. Arsenal have just splashed however much on Declan Rice. I'm assuming that Tchouameni would be competing with him for a position. It wouldn't make much sense from Tchouameni's perspective to go, I'm just going to go and try to challenge this £100 million signing and this player who's being lauded as Arsenal's a marquee signing or whatever. So I don't think it would make much sense. I also don't think it would make much sense for Arsenal, because I think it would be a waste to play Rice and Tchouameni in the same team. So because then you'd be taking away, someone else in the midfield, whether it's a Odegaard or Havertz or whoever's going to play in the midfield. So
that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, so I don't think it works. No, sorry. So I don't think it works on Tchouameni's side. I don't think it works on Arsenal's side, and I don't really get this transfer in this world where we're believing it. I don't understand it.
That's what I was saying. Jess, we've spoken about this before, in terms of obviously having a big squad. You're playing in multiple competitions, including Champions League. But I was saying this to Gavin last week, because he was like, look, we need as many players as we can get. But I said, look, Tchouameni's not going to leave Real Madrid to go to a team where he's not guaranteed to play. You just brought in Declan Rice. Honestly, you're not going to pay that much for Havertz. I know you guys obviously have a lot of money, but Arsenal aren't known for spending the amount of money that you have recently, especially on a player like Havertz, to put him on the bench. Do you know what I mean? So it's not going to be a situation where you bring in a Tchouameni and play Rice in the 8 when you've just spent this much on Havertz, plus paying him over 200k a week. Realistically, I just don't see that happening. And on top of that, you've got a situation where you need to get rid of a Partey. So I just don't, the dynamics within that team, there's just a lot going on in that midfield. I just don't realistically see it happening. I reckon you probably have to sell at least him and Jorginho and Partey, both of them, potentially, to bring him in. That's the only way I see that one happening. I think you guys have a lot of midfielders.
Can Arsenal have 4 midfielders that play regularly? Because that's what you're pretty much talking about. 4.
That's
So
exactly like
take Tchouameni out, Havertz, Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Rice. Is that not doable?
I think
4 competitions and trying to go as far as you can. Is that not doable?
you'd have to sell Partey. You'd have to sell, probably even say Jorginho. Like, where does he get the game time? Do you know what I mean?
Wait,
So
why would you have if take Tchouameni out of the conversation, because I think putting Tchouameni in the conversation makes people think about it too hard. Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. Can those 4 midfielders exist at Arsenal and play a good amount
I
of
think
minutes?
they can, Jess, but there's always going to be one of them that are going to have to sacrifice for the other ones. In this case, we all know that it's probably actually, we don't know, but more than likely, for me, I reckon it's going to be Partey because of his injury prone, because you brought Declan Rice in for such a big fee. Depending on the game, if you're looking to be a bit more defensive, then it may be Havertz that's going to be sacrificed, and you put Partey in with Rice, or you could do Tchouameni and Rice. But the whole point of not bringing Tchouameni in, and like everyone is saying, is because you're going to be paying such a large fee for Tchouameni to have a player he's not similar to Rice as in the way that he plays, but similar as in they're both attributes are best defensively, and so you're going to be taking away your attacking part of the team. And it may work in some games, but in most other games you're going to need another player in there that's a bit more creative and a bit more attacking, has more attacking sense. So we're not saying that Tchouameni shouldn't go Arsenal. It just doesn't make sense for him to go Arsenal. And if he does go Arsenal, you're only going to be affecting your team and just making it's just not going to work properly.
I differ. I think it does. I think the argument that Partey all of a sudden is the one that's going to get dropped because of the fee, I think is madness, because up until his blunder towards the end of the season, the whole argument was he was the best DM in the Prem. Him and Casemiro were battling out with Rodri. Declan Rice wasn't in the conversation. So Declan Rice comes in, it strengthens the squad. But I think Partey still, as a defensive midfielder, from what Arteta wants, I think Partey is much more comfortable in the ball than a Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice, we've seen, even at West Ham, he's actually started to play further forward. I think he's actually going to potentially play in that 8 in where Xhaka does. And I think if you were to swap a Partey out for a Tchouameni, I think that 5 midfielders for 3 positions is fine. I think that's what you want. If you look at it, apart from that, what midfielders have they got?
It's crazy.
That's 2 players to cover. That's 2 players on the bench that will cover the 3 that start.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I told you guys that Gundogan, KDB, and Bernardo Silva all kind of played around 30 games last season for Man City, that's 3 players. I really do think that Arsenal can do 4 top midfielders that share minutes for 4 competitions. Will it be Tchouameni? I'm not sure, because you would have to move on Thomas Partey. But this is what everybody has said Arsenal need. They need a strong squad with top players in it. So I don't really understand why all of a sudden, because you add Tchouameni in there, it's it doesn't make sense. It does. He would get more than enough playing time. Thomas Partey is not going to not play next season. He's definitely going to play. And I just read something from Declan Rice saying that he does want to play more of a box-to-box role. So I think you spend $100 million on a player that's going to play multiple positions anyway. I think Declan Rice is going to play 8 and 6, depending on what we want to do. But yeah, this is what Arsenal are supposed to be doing, right?
Last season, sorry, Jess, how many midfielders did Arsenal have? I'm pretty sure it was probably about 5 anyway. Because Xhaka's left, and we're talking about Partey leaving. That's 2 midfielders. So if Havertz comes in and Declan Rice, and wasn't it Lokonga as well that was coming in certain games?
Lokonga, El Neni was there,
these players just won't be available. I think.
Oh, can I just say, go on, JJ. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was saying, I think Tchouameni is more similar to Partey than Declan Rice is to Partey, if that makes sense. So I think if Partey leaves, I think Tchouameni can do the role that Partey did in terms of picking up the ball from deep, not really going too gung-ho in terms of possession. I think he can do that. He showed he could do it in the World Cup, right? I think Declan Rice is more suited and actually has got his move on the back of actually being more of an advanced midfielder as opposed to being that deep line kind of midfielder that he was when he came through at West Ham. So for me,
so Jerry, let's look at a lineup then. So let's say they brought in Tchouameni and he played as a 6, and then you got Declan Rice playing in the 8. Yeah. That means naturally Havertz drops to the bench. Now, when it comes to
because we're assuming he'll play midfield, right? But Havertz has shown that he can play on the left. He's played on the right. He's played up front. He's one of those players that even you as a Chelsea fan will tell me you don't even know his position, right? So maybe Arteta sees him as someone that, you know what, if Gabriel Jesus is injured, right? I mean, we can rotate them, right? But if he's injured, or if he's not available, I can play Havertz then, still play
as a 9,
role, because they're similar in terms of what they can offer. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but they're similar.
I get that, but what I'm doing, I'm going off the words that Mikel actually used. Like in his when they signed Havertz, he did say like he's going to bring some strength to our midfield, and on their website, he's actually down as a midfielder. So let's say he's playing as a left centre mid, right? That means behind him you're going to have Smith Rowe, and then you've also got Vieira as well, who I believe plays in that role. That's why I'm looking at it like that's a lot. I get it's a squad. You need a lot of players, but that's literally like 3 players for one position. I know Odegaard, he might come off certain games and maybe you can play, I don't know, Vieira on that side, for example. But let's be real, like Arsenal are going to have, I know they were predictable last season, but it's going to be the same players that are getting tinkered, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like it's very bloated. I'm not saying that they can't bring in Tchouameni, but I'm just looking at who they actually have and the positions that they're going to play in.
Do you think
quite bloated?
Do you think Vieira and Emil Smith Rowe have a future at Arsenal? That's the question.
Smith Rowe, I mean, Smith Rowe, they said he's got a future. They said he's got a future. Apparently,
they're going to be cup players. Like they're going to be the guys that are playing in the Carabao Cup. Like I think Declan Rice, Odegaard, and Kai Havertz are going to play a big role in those 8 positions. Declan Rice can sometimes play in the 6. Maybe we'll play a double pivot sometimes. You don't know. But like, you know, I think Vieira and ESR, like even though they're good players and they have a future, like in the short term, long term, like we just don't know. But those main 3, Odegaard, Kai Havertz, and Declan Rice, I don't understand why there's not a world where all 3 of them can exist within this team and play a lot of minutes with 4 competitions.
Yeah, no, that I agree with. I'm just looking at it about ESR, Vieira, all these guys that are kind of just in the back. Do you know what I mean?
I think they'll have to leave. Yeah, I think for me, in my opinion, I think one of those would have to go and leave in that case, because they were playing, like someone's going to play, obviously, it's not going to get any game time. But if we're looking at it, Vieira didn't really play that many games. I know he came off the bench. If you replace that with even as Jorginho, when Jorginho comes in or whatever, I think that they kind of make up for them. The minutes make up themselves in that case. So whether it happens, obviously, I'm not sure. But I think Tchouameni, he could look at that and be like, you know what? At Real Madrid, I might not be playing, but if I come to Arsenal and I'm guaranteed game time, I can emulate the likes of a Vieira, and there's that storyline that can, emerge for a Tchouameni, especially him being quite young as well. So,
Tchouameni's not coming to be on the bench. They're definitely starting him. They're definitely starting him.
He would be a starter. So.
Yeah. No, listen. The whole thing as well about having fringe players. At the end of the day, if you have the opportunity now to sign, it's like kind of Tchouameni might go Man United. What do you do about McTominay and Fred though? You move one of them on, didn't you? If you're buying better, you move them on. If you can't get them, you
that's what I would do. Sell Vieira.
I think Arsenal's next move as well is going to make a lot more sense during pre-season, because I think you may see a couple of people leave, and then it might give everybody an inclination to exactly the positions they may invest in. Because Arsenal are going to sign at least 2 more players. We know the 3 they've already bought in have done brilliant business. They'll get at least 2 more. And I think one of them is going to shock people. And I'm not suggesting it will be Tchouameni, but it'll be an inside forward or there'll be a player. We go, Jesus Christ, Arsenal. Because I think they're doing a lot of good business behind.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah, go on.
With that in mind, what I've been waiting to ask, Jess, is they've now got a squad that's valued over £1 billion. Mm-hmm. They've now got a squad that they've got a midfield that's £300 million worth. They got all the depth they need. What's the expectation in the Champions League? Let's talk some business now. Let's talk like something.
The Tottenham fan wanted to talk business.
Yes, I just want to talk some football currency, because this is something that Arsenal fans have been talking about for a while. The return to the Champions League, something my team knows about, and your team hasn't been to a final in. Hey, we're nearly 20 years deep. It's been a very long time, and it only happened once. What is your expectation next season, knowing how strong your squad is, knowing that you've spent all this money to build up to this point? What are you going to do in it?
We're doing the expectations of teams right now.
I'm asking you. I just want an opinion. You made some really good big moves in the transfer window, so I want to know, with the squad that you currently got, what's your expectation?
My expectation next season is silverware, like first and foremost.
In the Champions League specifically.
Just the Champions League? That's it?
I just want to know. I want to know the big business. Yeah, I want to know Champions League.
I can't believe you're over here talking about big business. You better sit down, big business. Okay,
We've only just come back to the big boy table, man. I've
big
been there for a few
business.
years.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't know. I feel like quarterfinals at the very least, you have to get to at least the quarterfinals. You know, like, and then it depends on who you play from there. I think like if you come up against like a Man City or a Real Madrid, you have to look at that and be like, you know, this might be a little bit difficult, but at least the quarterfinals, like Arsenal can't be bombing out early. You know, you can't be not getting out of the group stages. You have to really make a good account of yourself. I think it's hard to say right now without seeing who you're going to play. But if you get to the quarterfinal and you're playing a team that's like, you know, not great.
Haven't Arsenal not got one of the strongest squads in world football right now? So should you not be looking?
But it's a Champions League where anyone can beat anyone. The league should be a barometer more so than a knockout competition.
Yeah, I'm saying you're saying this like I'm saying as like a bare minimum, like without seeing anything, who are playing anything, quarterfinals. But you're not about to sit up here and tell me that if we match up with Manchester City in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, that we should be like, yeah, we're getting.
He's trying to get you to say that you can win it next season. That's basically what he's trying to do.
I mean, I know dummy. I've been around the block. I know the game. I created the game. Okay, but no, I think Arsenal definitely need to be for real. Like you can't just be going out in the group stages. You have to make a good account of yourself, and if you go out, you need to go out to a team that you know.
The question that I've got, Jess, right? I know obviously the Champions League, there's multiple factors, like Robin's just said, right? And look how long it took Man City to, you know, to finally even get to a final. Obviously, they lost to us and then they won it.
We don't talk about that.
they recently just won it, right? So Champions League, there's multiple factors. It's all about moments, and it's not just about, you know, the teams that you've got on paper, right? But Mikel Arteta, right? Okay, let's say next season he competes for the league, but doesn't win any silverware. But let's say for argument's sake, he finishes second, but doesn't leave with any trophies, because you've said you're looking for silverware. Where do we go from there? Jess?
It's tough. You know, I think you have to look at the manager from that point on, because you have a really, really good team and a team that a lot of managers at this point would want to come in and work with. The Kroenkes have shown that they're willing to spend money. And I think from a top manager's perspective, they want to know that they're going to have money in the bank to spend on good players. And so I would think at the end of the season, you'd have to look at Mikel Arteta's, you know, his standing if he doesn't like win anything. It would be harsh, I think, for him to finish second and make it to a final, you know, and do well in the Champions League and go. But at this point, like, there's been so much money spent, and the last thing I want is for a Saliba or a Saka or somebody like that to go. I actually want those players to stay more than I want Mikel Arteta to stay. So, yeah, from my perspective, I would look at the manager. Like, as much as I want to give him time, and I like Mikel Arteta, it's not just about him. You know, we need to win.
Yeah.
So
you make a really good point, because I've said this before. Like, it's going to get to a point where your core right now, like Saka, Odegaard, Saliba, like you've just mentioned, I know they've just signed new contracts, but to go again, if you don't win anything next season, you know, you have to motivate yourself again. And it's like, at the back of your mind, you're thinking, do you know what? It's happened last season, happened the season before, even the season before. It's constantly happening. So then players might start side-eyeing, you know, other options. And before you know it, you've got this guy going to Man City because they're winning everything. Or you never know, they might end up at Chelsea. They might end up at, I don't know, Liverpool, for example. Do you know what I mean? So you are right in saying that. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Arteta. I like Arteta. I think he's a really good coach. But next season, there's no excuses whatsoever. He must win something next season.
I think win something or still be in the title race in the last day of the season. I think. No,
he has to win something. He has to win something. Competing is a minimum. I'm not expecting us.
Where City get 98 points and Arsenal get 97, like Liverpool in 2018-19.
There's three other competitions. They can win. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So they have to win something.
The thing is, I don't feel like Arsenal fans are going to get onto him heavily if he doesn't win the Premier League, because we all know how strong City are. They're like he just said, there's other competition this season. The reason a lot of fans weren't happy with him is because they went out in the Europa League very early. So now they've got another opportunity. Maybe not in the Champions League. They still have the League Cup. They have the FA Cup. They need to go out there and get the business done, because as just said, Arteta's got to win something. Arsenal are a big club. They pride themselves on winning things. They talk about it all the time. So if
you're
they're not
lucky
winning
you're still
things,
here,
what's happening?
Jords.
What's
This
happening,
will be
Jess?
Kendall will be in that seat very, very soon. So
This is very wrong.
I mean, he has to win, man. This is his team. You know, everyone that won the FA Cup with him, they're pretty much all gone. I'm sure Saka started on the bench that game, right? The final.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think he even started that game. So this is Mikel's team. Do you know what I mean? This is his image. This is what he wants. So he has to win. Do you know what I mean? He has to win something.
So you guys saying, since you think that Arsenal need to win, that this team is very good? You guys are
I rate your team. I think your team's very good.
You rate everybody on the team.
Listen, I know you guys didn't know me last summer, but I was bigging you guys up when you beat us in preseason. I'll forever keep saying this. Like I was bigging you guys up. I knew from that moment. I said, yeah, there's something different happening like this time around. Obviously, when I saw that game against Palace, I was like, yeah, like this is not a joke. So yeah, no, I do rate Arsenal. I think Arsenal good.
We have some super chats here. The first one says, "Can we ask the Spurs fan for his European expectations?"
They're not applicable for this season.
Arsenal need a Prem quarterfinals of the Champions League, but Prem is a must, is what's been said here. I love a loaded question from a Spurs fan. In the Champions League, we're expecting to compete. Let's see the group and get and take it from there. That's very, very true there, Ty. Arsenal won't get Tchouameni. There are other forward areas that need looking at before another midfielder comes in. Partey should stay for one more season. Arsenal need to strongly compete in 4 competitions. Don't think games starting. Think minutes played per player. That's very, very true. This year, back to Thiago, says Barca tried their best to keep Thiago. I don't remember reading that. I remember reading it the other way around, but that was a long time ago now, to be fair. This says, cannot wait to watch the overlap before the season starts to laugh at Flav moan about Arsenal potentially spending over 200 million again this window. He needs to learn that big clubs spend money. This year says Sambi and Holding are available, right, Jess? I think he's talking about when Liverpool could sign them as players if they still need to bolster their squad. Is what he was talking.
Yeah, you need another center back. You need another midfielder. We got him for you. For you, my friend.
This year says, this is from an Arsenal fan, says, what happened to Arthur? Is he still on loan? Did he actually kick a ball for Liverpool?
Yeah, in the
Against
Champions
Napoli,
League.
didn't he?
Yeah, he played 20 minutes.
You know what's crazy? One of those actual in the nose on Twitter were saying that he was actually at Colney about to sign for us before he signed for you. I'm so happy that didn't happen now.
What do you mean on loan?
Yeah, like he was gonna come to us, and he was at Colney, and like we were about to sign him on loan in January, but you guys did it.
Thanks for that, I guess. Yeah.
Just like
one of the maddest signings. This here from I Cut My says, hoping Hightail, hoping you guys close Onana and Amrabat soon. Not convinced about Højlund. Not good enough for Man United, in my opinion. On Man United, it looks like Inter Milan are working on talks with Summer and a few other goalkeepers to replace Onana. That deal looks done. There's talk about Amrabat maybe coming in and this young man, Højlund, for United, with obviously De Gea over the weekend being announced as leaving. Jess, your thoughts on Man United signing Onana and coming into 2023 of a proper goalkeeper?
Why are you asking me? I don't love you guys that much. I hope all these signings crash and burn. But yeah, like Onana is a good goalkeeper. Like I remember before we got Ramsdale, a lot of Arsenal fans wanted Onana because of his ability to play from the back, which is amazing. So he's gonna take you guys up a level in terms of being able to play out of the back that David De Gea just doesn't have it. And he's a great shot stopper, but he's outlived his usefulness, and it's time for him to be moved on, which is fine. So yeah, bringing in Onana, I do think will take Man United to another level. In terms of Amrabat, like I think that's like a filler signing. It's somebody who's probably better than Fred or better than McTominay, can keep you guys, still competitive midfield wise if Casemiro gets his 5th, red card in a season. So yeah, like that's a great signing as well. And it's cheap. Like what is he, like 30 million euros or something? It's a no-brainer. Right? It's at 30 million euros?
About 30 to 35 million pounds.
Okay, yeah. So that's a good signing for you guys. I think Man United are sneakily doing a really good job in this window. I don't think people are talking about it that much because nothing has happened with the takeover, and they signed Mount. But everybody that knows me knows that like I rate Mount very highly, and so I think Man United are doing very smart moves on a very strict budget because of their takeover, and they will be, with maybe another signing or two challenging. Like they were quite close last season's at certain points. So yeah, I think the business that they're doing is really good. The striker situation, Højlund, it's just all about like whether or not he adapts, quickly. I think he's a project, so I'm not sure what you can really expect from him in the short term, but long term, he's going to be quite good. So yeah, I think Man United are doing a good job. Unfortunately, would love all this to just not work out, but I have a feeling that it just is, because the signings are good. And a lot of times when you're not making big splashes and people aren't really talking about it, that's when you end up having the best windows, the louder windows, like the Tottenham window and the Chelsea window that when they signed 7 players and they were like, yeah, we're going to spend all this money. Those ones don't go as well. So
who's had the loudest window so far this year?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Man United doing a good job, but Onana will probably be your signing of the summer.
I've seen a lot of people say he's injury prone, very, very error prone, makes a lot of mistakes. He'll be you don't rate him as a goalkeeper, do you, Jords?
I don't. I honestly don't. Of course, my biggest memory of him is that big Lucas and over in Amsterdam when he let those goals in. But for me, no, I've seen a bit of him at Inter Milan. I do think he's not a bad goalkeeper. He reminds me of a lot of Ederson. And I feel like his weakness is his shot stopping, his positioning. And sometimes you can catch him out, like you say, with errors. He's obviously going to improve for Man United for what they need to do. De Gea is horrible on the ball, and just watching him trying to clear the ball it's a sore sight for eyes, man. So he's going to improve you guys, but I do think, like you say, he's going to have some big errors, and I do think in certain games he's going to cost you, and Man United fans aren't going to be happy about that. But you have to give and take with him, and as Man City, you see Ederson, you give and take, and gives more so than he takes. So it's all right.
I think Man United will improve massively with him. There'll be mistakes, and there are certain United fans that are already kind of planting the seed for when he makes a mistake, I'm going to be on him. It will make mistakes. There'll be some, like Alisson's the best goalie in the world, but every season not only makes mistakes in goal, he'll make mistakes on the ball as well. It happens. It's just about how much attention it gets. And I think the way De Gea's left, I kind of get it from rivals. Oh, you did it in a bad way, and this new guy will make mistakes. It's weird seeing Man United fans preparing to attack their own club for no real reason. But I think we'll become a better team with him in goal. But because of the way he plays and the way he's on the ball, we'll become more press resistant. We'll get pressed less at the back, which means we can build more attacks. And just his ability to find people with the ball in the team is out of this world. And I do hope the next player we go for, I know we're looking at Højlund, spoke about him a lot on the last show. I think he's great. I do hope we're looking at a midfielder like an Amrabat as well. I think if we can add someone like him into our middle, I believe we're ready to challenge next season, Man United, with signings of that level. I really do. I believe with these signings will come off, we can improve by about 15 points next season. And 15 points added onto our total of last year puts us in and around the title race. And Jords pulls that face, but if you actually go back to a lot of our games, it's only an extra 5 wins. And we had a number of draws where if we just had a bit more of a midfielder, a bit more up front, we would have won. Even quite a few of our defeats. You go back to the Brighton game and the West Ham game towards the end of the season. We had all the chances up until West Ham scored that goal against nothing, or up until Brighton scored late on. We had all the early chances. We just don't have finishers. So you add another finisher into this team, a stronger midfield to maintain possession, and a goalkeeper who can play out from the back. I believe we can get anywhere between 12 to 15 additional points next season.
Don't you also take into consideration the fact that you're losing De Gea, who for me I know on the ball wasn't so great, off the ball and in his general goalkeeping had an amazing season. He was actually phenomenal from the start. I thought he was actually really good and not going to say he saved you guys in loads of games, but
phenomenal from the start. You forget what you did against Brentford.
Yeah, especially at the start.
So I get what you're saying. David De Gea will be one of those goalkeepers in 15 years' time when he plays in Soccer Aid for the rest of the world team. He'll still pull off ridiculous saves where you go, oh my God, how did he do that? And that's something we'll lack because David De Gea for me in the last 15 years has been the best goalie in the world of pulling off those I can't believe what I just witnessed saves where sometimes he pulled them, they were beyond him, and you think it's a goal. And you as rivals will start celebrating, and I put my hands in my head when he saves it. We'll lose that. However, those are from gilt-edged chances that I believe a better team, as in a better midfield, a better attack, and a more press-resistant backline, won't concede as regularly, first of all. And secondly, it's the little things that maybe rivals don't notice. The 17 times on average per game, unforced error with him in possession, we lose the ball and have to face attack 17 times. So, yes, he's pulling off lots of saves, but I've seen a few compilations. The amount of times he pulled off great saves, but you scroll back a minute, it all comes from his poor pass or clearance or him not coming for the cross and commanding it in the first place, as an example. So we will lose in certain areas. You always do when you lose anybody. But I do believe we'll become an overall better team, even if the shot-stopping... Again, his shot-stopping stats in the last 3 years have been waning. And I think he was ranked in the bottom quarter of goalkeepers last season in terms of general shot-stopping. He just has the ability of pulling off some saves that are just out of this world, ridiculous. But then what that does is it kind of, I think it masks a lot of Man United fans from seeing what a genuine top class, like De Gea 10 years ago was so good. This man was so good. And he's just fallen from that. He just can't do it anymore. Now teams play out from the back and there's more pressing. We need to improve. So I get your point, but I think Man United will improve massively with Onana. I really do.
Would you say United still need to get a centre-back? You guys were obviously linked with Kim and Jay. You're still going to be relying on Varane.
Terry, they've got Maguire training with Cavallo now, isn't it? Ricardo Cavallo. So he's ready.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I forgot about that one. Fair enough.
My guy.
Honestly, the second-hand embarrassment I saw from Man United fans today, getting angry over the United are not actively looking to sell Maguire. They value him at over 50 million. Like, that's called sales technique. If you make it sound like you're desperate to sell him, you lower the value. I think we will. We're looking at Axel, and I forget how to pronounce his surname.
Oh, Csicedo.
No. Yeah, him. We're looking at him. I don't know much about him, so I'm not going to sort of express an opinion. He's a good age profile, around 25, so he's not a kid. We are looking in that area, but what I've noticed so far with Ten Hag, typically, he's bought a few players in January.
Oh.
What's the matter?
Yes, Terry. Yeah, the connection.
Yeah. We lost you there, Terry.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we are looking in those areas. But one thing about Ten Hag, when it comes to his summer signings so far, if he can't get his number one player in a certain position, he often moves on to a different role. So I think if he can't sign someone he really thinks will improve us defensively, I think he might look elsewhere. But I do think we need an extra body because Lindelof is just too much of a drop-off when you come away from him. Does that make sense? And Varane's body can't do 2 games a week. So I'd like another player in that area. Yeah, definitely.
Haven't you got like a youth team player, like centre-backs coming through right now? It's been a while since Man United.
Centre-backs, not that I'm aware of. We've got a young midfielder who's coming who looks good. Problem is for me, I don't watch the academy anymore because, like all self-respecting Man United fans, I cancelled MUTV because I don't give money to the Glazers. So I haven't watched my academy for 6 years. So I don't go on the website to read anything either because, again, self-respecting Man United fans don't give them any click revenue. But I don't really know much about our academy anymore. And it's annoying because it's funny. Phil, one of my best mates who's been on the show a few times, he was one of my groomsmen at my wedding and he did a speech and he spoke about how he got annoyed living with me because all I really watched on TV was repeats of Only Fools and Horses, EastEnders and Man United youth team on MUTV. That's all I used to do. That was my life. I watched all those games. So I don't really know, if I'm being honest with you, Terry clutching at straws. It's just called a joke, my friend. Relax your brain. It might hurt you a little bit. But yeah, so look, from my point of view, there is Mengi that people mention, but again, I don't know how good he is. And the reason I say that is his name's been around a while when he's not getting opportunities. And I always say this to people about my own academy players and your own. When you've got a player who's in your academy that just isn't getting the chances to start games, typically it just means they're not good enough. The Man United fans, we used to do it about Angel Gomez. Oh, he's the best. Yeah, he looks okay.
Terry, did you see his under 21 camp?
Yeah, but go back and look at the last England go back and look at the last England under 21s team that got to the final back in 2009 and look who actually went on to do something. Like,
no, I know, but if you actually look at the way they played, if you see the football that he was playing and how good the England under-21 team actually played, he was the pivotal part to it. I was really impressed with Angel Gomez, to be honest. I'd like to see him come back to the Premier League.
He is good. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but Man United fans spoke about him that he could come into, like, again, look where he is at club level, and the guy's never going to play for one of the top teams in the world. And end of the day, you need to be aiming for that as an example. And
it's hard to break through to any one of like our teams through the academy. Like you only get one in like a long time that actually breaks through. If a lot of them are breaking through, it's because your team is not that good.
Yeah.
You know, this.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like we had Tchouameni that came through who was good, but his issue was more injuries than anything else. Academy wise, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. As I said, I don't watch it. And I'd be a liar sitting here. You know, I could go and watch somebody else's video on it and plagiarize, but it's something I don't watch anymore because, again, I can't because I don't have MUTV and I don't follow it all. But yeah, look, we definitely need to. Sorry, it's a comment that made me laugh. We need to improve the area, but I'm happy with the midfield links. I'm happy with the direction that we're going in. And Onana's again, it's seismic. It's a game changer for us, and United will look like a different team next year. I do want to ask you all about David De Gea, though. Where do you think you ranked in terms of Premier League goalkeeping legends? That was a question that one of our viewers asked me to ask earlier on today.
He's not in the top 5.
He's top 10.
Top 10.
Definitely top 10.
I think, what you don't think?
What are 5 names better than him though? If we're being honest,
So I've
Michael, Van der
Alisson,
Sar, Shep,
Michael,
Alisson. That's 4.
Edison. I'll probably say even Edison. In the
no
Premier
way.
League era,
Time.
in the Premier League era, 100%.
Big up my man Edison, big him up. Pantilimon as well, Zach Steffen.
I'm putting Edison in the top 5.
David Seaman.
Over De Gea. Really?
Nah.
Roy Carroll.
What we basing this? We're basing this on ability, or we basing this in the Premier League era?
No.
Like
I tell you, on the football terrace, we never just do ability only because that's only like a section. It's based on his ability, his trophies, his consistency.
Oh, then Edison. Edison's ahead of him. Edison's ahead of him.
No, but hold on. Has De Gea won a league?
He's won one.
Yeah.
One. He's the last. He was the last one from the last time they won it. He's only won one. So when you stack him up in comparison to the rest of them, even Courtois got more prems than him. Courtois got 2 of them.
You can have more prems, but look, if we're being honest, the ability that he has, the only ones that I think you can name was comfortably ahead of him was the likes of Schmeichel's, Czech,
Van der Sar,
Alisson, and Van der Sar. Those I think De Gea might be 5th. Schmeichel, Czech, Van der Sar, and who was it? Alisson. That's 4. I'd say just.
Oh, sorry. Did you also say David Seaman?
No, I didn't. I don't put him there. For me, I think he's 5th. I think he's there. I don't think he's anywhere lower. As I said, he's been here for 10, 11 years. He's been consistent throughout that whole time. And all these other keepers that people are going to name maybe had 3 or 4 year stints at a top level. De Gea has been consistent for a very long time. So for me,
and I think between sort of 2012, 2013, and about 2015, 16, De Gea was the best goalie in the world. Maybe outside, maybe Manuel Neuer. In terms of the saves this man was making, his ability on one-on-ones, he was out of this world. But like, I don't even put him in. He's 3rd in terms of Man United's Premier League goalkeepers in terms of what they did for us. Like Barthez wasn't that great for us, even though some might rate him above him overall. He was erratic as hell. He was. So like Schmeichel's my number 1, then it's Van der Sar, and then it's David De Gea. So he's only 3rd in the Man United list, but that's because what Schmeichel and Van der Sar did for us and their careers was just ridiculous.
If David De Gea had left, I think his legacy would have been a little bit better. Meaning, like, if he had kind of left before you guys had really kind of and went to Madrid, then you could just think about the good times. But when a player stays too long, then you got all these bad times too. It's hard to see how good they were.
Yeah. Well, he also aged out. And what was really funny, I remember when he first joined Man United, I remember listening to, again, when I used to have MUTV, Rio Ferdinand used to do this pre-season tour show he used to make. And he was talking on it, and he said that, he goes, I can't believe the passing range of David De Gea. He's so good with his feet. Kids won't remember this. But this guy, De Gea, used to get praised for how good he was with his feet. Because compared to the Czech generation of goalkeeper, David De Gea was good with his feet. The problem is then the next generation came along that were just even better. And the way teams play now, that's where he's really fallen off. And I think his inability on the ball has led to a confidence crisis, which has impacted his overall goalkeeping. I really do think the two things. kind of intertwined in that way. And yeah, he's just.
Would you say he's a Man United legend for you, Terry? Like,
no.
Well, if
He
he's top 3 keepers, he must be though.
No, because
I think he's a great servant.
Yeah, he is, and he's a hero. Maybe if you want to put him in that, great servant. But the problem is that Alex Stepney, Peter Schmeichel, and Van der Sar won leagues. They won Champions Leagues. So I have to factor in the trophies that an individual won as well. And yes, that's not, we've been for a bad era at the same time. We ended up, last season was one of our worst in 40 odd years, but his inability on the ball and what we need from modern day goalkeeper, what we need from a goalie in 2022, 23 was lacking, if that makes sense. So he's not, I don't class him as a Man United legend. I have those 3 above him. He only won 1 Prem. He didn't win the Champions League. Those guys did. On ability, he's up there with them as a goalkeeper. But I have to factor in the trophies that he's won as well. I don't personally call him a legend. There's no one.
It's a shame, really, because to be honest with you, Terry, like
very few of our players in the last 10 years go anywhere near our legendary category, barring Wayne Rooney, Rio, Vidic, Evra. But these guys all left like 2013. They're all part of Fergie's era. There's no one that's come like. There's very few that I would put into the legends category, really. But De Gea, but there's an argument for David De Gea, but he isn't for me personally.
No, I agree.
On that, can I tell you guys something funny? Like it might not be funny to you, but
it better be funny now.
It better be.
Now I'm feeling like bad because it may not be funny to you guys. But speaking of like legends and like people not making it into your legends category because you've been bad for so long, Arsenal have been worse for longer than like Man United have been bad. And I was talking to somebody and they were saying that their children were actually crying because Granit Xhaka was leaving, because in their minds Granit Xhaka is a legend and they couldn't believe the man was leaving the club and they were crying. Like I was like, this is really sad. Arsenal need to win something soon because
you know what? Hey, it is funny, but this is the thing. I think for a certain age group, and some people might be older, but they may only remember David De Gea as their goalkeeper. They don't remember Van der Sar. Or they don't remember Peter Schmeichel. I mean, I don't remember Alex Stepney, but I'm just going by what I've learned about him at my football club. And yeah, for me, I just can't put him into that category. It's like I look at players now like Bruno and Rashford. Rashford has 4 trophies at the club. He's on course to become one of our greatest ever goal scorers. But until he starts adding those Prems and Champions Leagues, he won't be a legend, in my opinion. He can be a cult hero. He can be a fan favorite. Whatever those phrases, but legend,
cult hero,
legend is reserved. Again, being a legend at Man United is a lot harder than becoming a legend at Arsenal or at Tottenham or at City. But City's is getting more and more difficult now because of what's happened in the last 20 years. There's a standard. Look at the Chelsea legends. Your old legends don't even compete with your new legends. And to reach the Terry, Lampard, Cole, Cech, Drogba level now, you've got to match or surpass what they did.
Yep.
Even though there's people in your legendary category from the years prior to that who didn't achieve it, but because it's nostalgic, there's nostalgic people in. But your new legends are going to have to compete with Drogba's and the like, because that is the new standard that's been set. It's
you know what? It's a shame. It's a shame that for De Gea, because he done his job. Like he was at that level of to become a legend, but obviously everything around him was dross. Do you know what I mean? This guy was saving you guys during that time. So I don't even look at him. I don't blame him. I think it's United. The past decade, that's the reason why he didn't become a legend. You guys should have definitely won a lot more with him. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's a great servant for the club. But yeah, legends. You got to put some serious trophies on the table to get that.
Yeah, no, you do at my club anyway. I'm not sure about anybody else's. I mean, with all due respect, but my club and my standings, like trophies are the ultimate barometer of success for me. Not having Seaman in the top 5, 0 ball knowledge is what Victor Edwards says here.
It's pretty bad, but I let it slide because it is what it is. You guys do this to me all the time.
17-18 David De Gea versus Arsenal was peak. Yeah, that performance was ridiculously good. My word, what a night. Do I think the way United treat De Gea is fair? Yeah, it is fair, because at the end of the day, if De Gea was offered a new deal, but then Real Madrid wanted him to be their number 1, he might have left, and then everybody would say, "Oh, let the man get on with his career." So why can't a football club do exactly the same thing? We were absolutely right. The deal, by the way, was offered before that last couple of months of horrendous goalkeeping, and the club changed their mind. Of course, bro. You know, you can ask someone to marry you. Then if they start behaving like a crazy person, you can end the engagement. Like nothing's forever in life, barring your kids. And even then, there is adoption. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you can always do something if they're bad. It's true. Yeah, it's true. It does exist. It exists. Yeah, it's true. With Onana, I feel a good Champions League run for us in third. Listen, I as a Man United fan, I'm so desperate for a good Champions League run. It's been a decade, bro. It's been a decade since that happened. Terry, it's me again. I don't want have hope anymore. I want Don. Guy knows his stuff. That's nice.
Big up, man.
Shame for Sebastian, aka have hope.
Abdullah, you keep calling me Dom. It's not Dominic. It's Don. Don, bro.
Yeah, Don. Yeah. Like Chelsea spent crazy. What are their expectations?
Top 4 and challenge for all trophies. Minimum.
I like that. That's bigger expectations than Spurs have.
No, because I expect us to challenge for a trophy, but top 4 is always the minimum.
Top 5.
Why do you expect Spurs to challenge for a trophy?
Right.
Because there's always a cup competition available.
Do you know what? The thing is, though, everyone's downplaying this Ange guy. Listen, be wary of him, man. From what I'm hearing of him, be wary of this guy. I think Spurs are gonna. Yeah, I think it'll be decent. In all honesty.
I like the players they've got so far in Maddison and this Solomon. I think they're being quite smart with who they're signing. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but
yeah. I'm seeing some people saying Tottenham won't finish in the top 10. That's crazy talk, man.
And that's too far. Like, again, I think I'll make top 7.
Yeah. I'm telling you now, I'm pretty confident finishing above Newcastle, no doubt in my mind. So
I don't know about that.
You got all these people talking about Newcastle this, Newcastle that. I've got Newcastle.
Big up Luton, man. Big up Luton.
What about Brighton and Aston Villa? That's kind of like in the area you guys are in.
There is still a big transfer window to go, so this is just me saying he say, she say right now, just throwing a few things out there. But for me, I ain't worried about Newcastle, Brighton. I really ain't. Let's be real. I'm with the big boys at this big boy table, the top 6, and I'm here to get Champions League football next season, 100%.
Where do you think you're going to finish next season, then, Jords?
The thing is, like you guys say, we don't know whether Kane's. We need to get through this Kane saga first. I genuinely need to know what's happening with Kane or not, and seeing who we're signing, because if Kane stays, we're getting top 4.
Who's missing out?
Top 4.
So Chelsea, Newcastle are both missing out.
What did you say? Sorry.
So are Chelsea and Newcastle both missing out then?
Beating Pochettino to top 4. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and if he leaves, then Jords, what are you saying?
Sorry, I think my connection's gone bad. No, honestly, like, I heard JJ say something. It just said what you said.
Sorry. Don't worry.
That also means you think one of Liverpool or United is not going to get top 4.
Well, we're gonna have to see. I mean, there's a long transfer window ahead. I'm seeing some teams make moves. I'm seeing some teams sleeping right now. So my team's doing a bit of both. They're sleeping and they're making moves. We're seeing who the next centre back comes in, and then we can start talking big business.
Yeah, we'll see. The only thing I think that is going to happen next year, Ange is going to put the Ange in angina for you, man. Trust me, it's going to be pain in your chest next season. That is what's coming with this guy, 110%. Like, I just listen. It's true. I think, like, listen. It's one of those things where it goes against my nature to say this, because normally the people that get written off do well, but it was the way Spurs fans, and this is all like I go by like actions and behavior of people. Thomas Frank ain't good enough. He ain't a big enough name with enough experience. They get Big Ange, and suddenly it suddenly Big Ange does sound like someone's auntie off Coronation Street. Do you know what I'm saying? Big Ange is and it's like suddenly they're talking about this guy like he's a god, and I can't help but think to myself, projecting. You're projecting.
I heard the next arson. Because they had similar ties, like Japan ties and stuff. I was like, these guys are trying.
I ain't gonna throw out nothing. I wouldn't throw out nothing crazy like that. But from a man who's coming from winning trophies wherever he goes, you really just can't write him off. Of course, the levels have been lower, but wherever he's gone, he's gone to a higher level and he's proved himself. So people can't write him off.
The main thing for me isn't even what Spurs fans have been saying. It's the fact that when I've done my own research on him and how he comes across, he doesn't seem like someone that isn't competent enough to like get some sort of structure and understand how to actually just play the game. Do you know what I mean? He seems like someone that will be able to understand a philosophy and bring that into your team. Do you know what I mean? If it seems like he's gonna bring a lot of people gonna respect him in a way. Ironically, he hasn't been in a top league, but he kind of just gives me that impression that he's gonna be able to do a decent job, if that makes sense. I don't think it's gonna be.
I think I play pretty football. I think that will all improve. What no Spurs fan, I've listened to a number of Spurs pods. Sometimes I sit there watching Spurs content, just listening. I don't comment. I just sit there and listen.
Why?
And all the same Spurs fans. I do it to a lot of people's teams. That's how I can do my job. All the Spurs fans, and Jords was kind of one of them, and Patrick was another, and Sav's another, that spoke about our board will never back a manager to make us highly successful. If that's the case, then why is there excitement about any manager? Because I forget, other than pretty football, there's only so far a manager without financial backing can take you. If you got Pep to come take over Spurs and you didn't back him financially, he wouldn't achieve greatness with you still. It'd be impossible.
Facts.
They still need money. So this is what I'm saying to Spurs fans. Hold your horses, keep your powder dry, hang fire a little bit. You're the same fan base that 4 months ago, sitting on my shows, that I saw on Twitter, said our board will never allow us to become successful. Suddenly there's mad excitement again. I was seeing comparisons against Arsenal's transfer window. You're going to make sure that Man United, you just said that Man United, Liverpool.
Come on, Terry. No one's comparing it to these windows.
And I've seen it. I have seen it. And you've just sat there and said you're definitely finishing in front of Man United and Newcastle and Liverpool.
I never said Man United. I said Newcastle. I said only definitely Newcastle. I said I've got a picked up.
But you put yourself in the top four, right? Which means one of Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool are missing out on that as well, right? You've kind of said that. And that's after signing a couple of good players with an untested manager, but with the same board that you said always screws things up for you. Based on your own words at the end of last season, the level of excitement I'm hearing from Spurs fans is weird to me. It's weird to me.
Again, so with regards to the back end of last season, yeah, we was all in a bad place, man. A lot of things were going wrong. A lot of bad things were said. Me personally, I never went to the extreme of what Sava and maybe some others said, which they did say what you said, but I believe we can be successful. I believe with the right team and the right players put together, it can go well. And our board does back our managers to an extent. Over the past couple of years, recruitment and talent ID has been one of our biggest issues, as opposed to actually investment itself, although that is a outlying problem. But we can be successful. And the one big difference going into this summer is we think that the talent ID is being different. We do think that the recruitment is going a different way, and we are going more towards a database model. So things are looking better. Maybe the investment may not be as heavy as we need, but it's definitely looking a lot better than it was 3 or 4 months ago.
What does long-term success at Spurs look like? So would an FA Cup be enough, for example?
Yes.
It's not long-term success.
Yeah,
it would
definitely be a start. So you're saying you're going to be successful. So what do you define long-term success as?
So right now, we need to get that off. We need to get out of the way. We need to get a trophy. We all know that. I've been saying that since last season. I demanded the trophy last season. Of course, we trailed off and went horribly. One of our worst seasons ever. This year, we need to do it again. We need to go again. As it is, new season, new expectations. We need to go and get a trophy. As every other team will do, go out there and, not being funny, the team hasn't fallen off to a stage where we are horrible and we shouldn't be competing. We've improved again, going through this window, and we will continue to improve. So as long as we stay at the level that we are and we continue to improve and stay in and around the top 6 teams, we should expect to win a trophy, as every other top 6 team should. We should all be competing and demanding our team wins.
I get that. Yeah, Terry, you're the same guy that said we'll challenge next season under the Glazers. Well, again, my friend, if you've watched my video, I don't have to keep repeating everything I meet, like every caveat to every statement. I've said it on many streams, but all my confidence about United's progression next season is based on the Glazers leaving this summer. So please stop making me having to repeat that over and over again. So no, I didn't. Spurs fans, after an 8th place finish, will finish above Newcastle. What is why I love this show. Big up the panel is what Ty says. This here says success will not come to Spurs unless the fans rise up and not allow Levy and the board to foul over and over again every season. I agree with you. Spurs fans expecting a trophy is the equivalent of a fish expecting to walk on land for a nice tan on the beach. I get it. Getting Little Mermaid settings here. I've never heard that expression. Is that a proverb from somewhere? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know if it is. It could be. Terry, do you know Spurs offered a job to Gary O'Driscoll first? He took, a line of Patrick Vieira's book said Spurs are crap. Oh, I didn't know that. I've seen Spurs getting a lot of crap at like different festivals and stuff over the last week or so, and wrestling and all sorts. Made me laugh.
One of the
Terry,
most popular clubs in the world, so most hated. Gotta be.
I respect Spurs' determination to get a trophy, or Jords anyway. There we go. A quick update before we go. Gvardiol to City. When's it happening, Nobbins?
I'm just getting a call from Pep now. No, I don't know. It seems to be that they're sort of, City are obviously doing what you do in a negotiation. You try to lowball as much as you can. Leipzig are standing firm. So Leipzig have all the power in this negotiation. So I'd be very surprised if it was any less than the 100 million euros that Leipzig want. So I think he's the perfect player for Pep City in our current system. So I think that it will be done sooner rather than later. Gvardiol wants to come. We want Gvardiol. We just need to give Leipzig what they want. And I think that we will do that.
How dare you lowball them? You're not a serious club. Just pay up the exact fee. In fact, get them more to show how serious you are. How dare you?
Is that
lower?
Is that a Declan Rice reference?
Definitely, 100%.
Okay.
I'm still there.
No, you see, I was one of the people who defended Arsenal there because that's how negotiations work. So yeah, don't worry. I got Rice's back. I got Arsenal's back.
Did you even want him or no? Not really.
I was warming up to the idea of him. I wasn't desperate for him, but I definitely would have loved him at the club. I can't deny I would have loved him, because he's a great player. I think Arsenal got a very good player. I think Arsenal need him more than we do, to be fair, because of what they need in the team. So yeah. I think Rice has made the right decision, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Another outgoing for Chelsea. Barbara Rahman has officially left Chelsea and gone to Greek club. Is it PA? Is it Pau?
Panathinaikos.
Yeah, that team.
Who?
Yeah, it's finally.
Who is it?
Barbara Rahman. Remember him? Barbara Rahman, the left back.
Ghanaian left back.
Oh.
The Ghanaian left
Yeah,
back. Yeah. It's finally left Chelsea now. Jesus.
Is Bakayoko still there, or is he gone now?
Nah, he's gone. He left this summer as well.
Okay. Like he was hanging around for a minute.
Yeah, no, he's gone.
Well, that's what happens with them mad contracts, and people like no one else wants to pay him as much. It's like we had obviously Phil Jones on $100,000 a week. He's like, why am I going to go somewhere else and get paid like $20,000 a week? I have to work hard. I can just get $100,000 a week, chill out. Man's had the best 3 years ever. What does this say? Yes, a comment came in. Newcastle hasn't won the league. For nearly 100 years. Still won it twice as much as Spurs.
More than twice as much. I think they've won it 5 times, haven't they, Newcastle?
And is that the only trophies they've won? Because they've only got about 5 trophies in the whole cabinet.
They won an FA
What
Cup
is
in the
this
50s,
weird
I'll have
thing
you know.
between you guys and Newcastle now? It's like weird. I'm seeing it online.
It's because Spurs fans know Newcastle are coming for their top 6 spot. It's not going to be a top 7.
It's more comical because Tottenham fans don't entertain it. It's Newcastle fans and Aston Villa fans and Brighton fans.
No, Spurs fans definitely are entertaining it.
No. Because
we got
Aston
Madison.
Villa,
We got Madison.
And Brighton have been talking up like big boys all of a sudden because they got Europe. They think they can bark up to Tottenham. They forget that our clubs are on totally different levels. You look at history, you look at heritage, the trophies and the difference between us and all these other clubs. No, Nobbins. You've only just overtook us yourselves. Let's get something straight. When it comes to history and heritage, all these other clubs in the Premier League have nothing on us. Yes, Aston Villa, they can talk some business, but they still haven't won anything for a good 30.
Well, Newcastle have twice as many league titles this year, so what do you mean they don't have anything on you?
So if we talk about just league titles, if you talk about total trophies in total, we have European titles. We have trophies. We have 26 trophies in total. How many do Newcastle have in their whole cabinet?
I don't know. It's
not in comparison to a team of our level. And so when Man United and all these other teams talk about having 20 more trophies than you, that's the type of conversations I'm having with Newcastle fans.
I think Newcastle are on it. I think that Newcastle's the 9th biggest club in England. I put Spurs as 8th biggest, to be fair.
And Newcastle also, I don't think anyone in this generation, no Newcastle fan alive saw their team win anything. So
You'll be saying the same thing about Spurs in 10 years.
So I like watching. I like this, especially like what the heavyweights in boxing, like when they see the little, like the flyweights having an argument. It's just like cute to watch. Do you know what I mean? How many trophies do Newcastle have? So they have 1, 2, 4 league titles.
Oh, 4, sorry.
Oh, so 4 league titles, 6 FA Cups. So they've got 10 and a Community Shield. So yeah, I think they've got 11. 11. Are you including in your 26, George? You must be including Charity Shield, right?
I don't know. It's the most recent graphic I've seen. We had 26. So
yeah, you man are definitely added in as Community Shields. 100.
No, honestly, I see the graphic today on somewhere on Twitter, and it said 26. So that's all I'm taking it from.
Do you think you're a bigger club than Villa?
No. Villa, we're definitely a bigger club than Villa. They have more trophies than us, I think. And the European, obviously, they have bigger trophies, but we're talking about actual club size. Villa haven't won anything in God knows how long. They was a massive club back in the 70s, the 60s. They was massive, but they've not been big for this new generation. I haven't even. Does anyone even know a Villa fan? Like, Villa aren't a big club.
Do.
Talking about Villa, Ashley Young's guy in Everton. What?
Yeah, I mean,
That man's
So random.
he's still playing.
Short-term deal, yeah. He was just at Villa.
That man is like Benjamin Button. He gets younger every year. His hair grew back. The guy's.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he ever grew back. He just used to shave it off. I always remember the best Twitter post I ever saw about that. Someone says, so he's never been bald, but he made himself look bald. They just said psychopath. I was like, made me die. But there we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
really quick, just for the season, how are we doing like that final, like that 6th spot? How are we doing it? Is it rotating between a Spurs fan and a Newcastle fan every other week?
Yeah, no, we've got a new set. We're gonna have 7 people on the shows.
Oh, okay. That's nice of you. Still include
Charity.
Yeah.
It's nice to include Newcastle fans, man. Make them feel welcome. It must be nice for them. But we also forgetting everyone's on to us. There's another team that's not playing no European football that's on this panel too, and they're like way below. Why was everyone talking about Tottenham as well?
Oh,
it's fun. It's funny to talk about Tottenham. That's why.
Nobbins, you only were just allowed to do these conversations very recently. Before this, you weren't allowed to talk about any club that way. Like, you had 2 years of this.
You mean 12 years ago?
I know when you was in school, he wasn't even allowed in the conversation.
Jords is so shameless. He's so shameless.
I'd say even before the takeover, we were a similar size to Spurs, but arguably bigger.
No chance.
We're gonna start doing a show called like Best of the Rest or something like that. It's gonna be like from 6 down, and we'll have Jords on there with a couple other an Aston Villa fan, Brighton fan, whoever else is in the mix.
Maybe we should do a European heritage show where you can only turn up if you've got a European.
Shut up!
That's great.
Big up the Cup Winners' Cup.
Now that'll be lit.
Well, I'm showing up with my Cup Winners' Cup.
I'm talking Champions League only.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Yeah, you can hold that, honestly. What a Champions League for Arsenal.
Nobbins, maybe we'll do a treble winners only show.
Oh, yeah, sounds cute. We'll make a date of it, yeah. I must say, yeah, what a treble for everyone else, am I right?
No, right?
Everybody even forgot about the treble by now. You realize that, right?
They forgot so much that people feel the need to tweet about it saying they forgot.
Oh,
fair enough. Nobbins come on with a brand new. The fade's looking good, by the way. Nobbins, show the side profile. I saw you when you turned around.
If I do that, I'll show you my bald patch where I like banged my head when I was a child. But yeah,
that fade looking all right, bro. That's nice. I like it. Look at that.
Cheers, mate. You're looking cute too.
Thank you, gorgeous. I appreciate it. Listen, viewers, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe, then you turn on the bell notifications as well. Back tomorrow, Ben Jacobs in the morning at 11. I have Lee Gunner in the after. He's getting cooked as well, by the way, because he said, watch. He said on the show a few weeks ago, watch that Simeone now will put his foot down and not allow João Felix to leave because he backs him so much. If he does get forced to sell him, he'll have to quit. So now we have to watch Lee Gunner say that Simeone has to quit his job because he's losing a player that he wants to. I love it, Lee. You always walk into him, my friend. Listen, take care. Goodbye. God bless. Jords, Jess, Don, not Dom. It's Don, JJ and Nobbins. Thank you very, very much indeed. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll